Assistant Charvette Cross is suing her former friend, maintenance man Devin Davis, for vandalizing her car and for an assault.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 128 on the calendar, the matter of Cross versus Davis.
Thanks,
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Cross, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours, and it is your claim that after some disagreement last New Year's Eve, he vandalized your car and later assaulted you. Mr. Davis says he did neither. So you had been his girlfriend for a while. You went to a party.
I was never his girlfriend. We were just friends.
You went to a party together?
Yes.
New Year's Eve?
Yes.
According to you, you were dancing with somebody else and he got annoyed?
Yes.
So take it from there.
All right. We went together as friends. I started dancing with someone else. 2 minutes into the dancing, he came up and pulled me on my arm and said he needed to talk to me. I told him I would talk to him when I was done dancing. He continued to stand there. Once I did finish dancing, I asked him what did he want. And he told me, why was I here dancing with someone else? And that's when I told him, why would you ask me that? We're just here as friends. You're not my boyfriend, and I can do what I want to do. And he kind of shoved me and he walked away. I didn't see him anymore that night at the club. I left about an hour and a half later. When I did arrive in front of Devin's building, I noticed he was...
You went back to his building. Why?
Because my van was parked there. I left it there and we got a cab because I didn't want to be drinking and driving.
So you went back to his place to pick up your car?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And that's when I noticed he was outside in front of it. And as we pulled up, the lights, when it shined on the vehicle, it's when he ran into his building. And that's when I noticed that the tires were slashed, the first thing I noticed, and the windows were busted. And I ran into the building after him.
Okay. So when you got up to the building, you saw him standing near your car,
when
near your van.
When we were pulling up.
You saw him standing near your van?
Yes.
You didn't see him doing anything to your car?
Well, he was motioning. I couldn't exactly see.
You didn't see him doing it? Just answer my question.
No.
Right. And then you saw him run into the building?
Yes.
Next.
And that's when my witness, she got out of the car because I couldn't get in the building, and I was buzzing and bamming, and then finally a neighbor walked out of the building, and that's how I got in. But there was another door that I couldn't get through, so I stood there and I buzzed his buzzer, and that's when I noticed the defendant looking up from the basement through the windows, and finally someone else did come out, and that's how I got in, and I confronted him then.
Where did you go to confront him?
Right inside the entrance of the doorway. It's in the hall.
Go ahead.
I asked him, why did you do that to my vehicle? And he didn't answer me. I grabbed his shirt, and he kind of pushed me and told me not to touch him, and I continued to grab his shirt, and it's when he swung, and he hit me, and I hit him back.
When did you get him in a headlock?
When we were in the altercation.
Just a minute. According to your complaint, madam, he pushed you, you pushed him.
Yes.
That's what you say. You have to get your story straight. And then you say at some point you got him in a headlock.
Yes.
And what happened when you got him in a headlock?
I punched him. I punched him in the face.
Yeah. So, and then what happened?
And that's when my witness came up and she kind of broke it up.
So why are you suing him for assault?
Because he hit me first. I only grabbed his shirt.
That's touching him. You can't grab his shirt.
Okay.
I mean, okay. You grabbed him. He, according to you, pushed you away. You grabbed his shirt again.
Yes.
Why?
Because I wanted to know why he did that to my vehicle.
Why didn't you just go call the police?
I did.
Why didn't you call the police first before you put your hands on him?
I was upset.
Sure. Can't sue him for assault. You touched him first. Got him in a headlock and then punched him in the face. Then he hit you back. If he did it at all, he says he didn't do anything. Is this your witness?
Yes, it is.
Step up here. Tell me your name.
Kanaiza Mutiva.
You were with her when you got home from the club?
Yes.
You didn't see him doing anything to the car?
I saw a shadow of someone running towards the building, but I didn't know. We actually met at the club, she and I did. So when we pulled up, I didn't know whose house we were in front of. We just pulled up, someone ran, and she ran out of the car.
When you say you saw someone, it was a person that you could not identify. You couldn't see their face?
It was like 1:30 in the morning. It was a
So
male.
you couldn't see their face. Is
No.
that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Could you see what they were wearing? Or was it too dark?
It was very dark, but I also didn't know that there was anything wrong at the time when I saw
That's
someone
not what
running.
I'm asking. I'm asking
It was dark and I didn't see what they were wearing.
And you were in the car with the plaintiff.
Yes.
How is it that your witness couldn't see the face of the person and you could?
Because I was looking at my vehicle as we were coming up. I was paying attention to my vehicle because that's where we were going to.
I was also in the back seat of the car.
All right, Mr. Davis, now you tell me your version of these events, sir.
Well, me and Charvette went out to a club called The Zone. She asked me to use my cell phone. That's how everything else happened. I was talking to a friend. I gave her my cell phone. Then later on, I asked for my cell phone. I forgot that I gave it to her. That's when I seen her dance on the floor with the two guys and my phone. So I pulled her to the side, asked her for my phone back, asked her what she was doing. She's supposed to be with me. She said that we were just dating, not my boyfriend. So I got my cell phone back. So I went to another part of the club, and she went her way. And I went home. But before I went home, it took about maybe half an hour just to get a cab, and I wasn't able to get one right away. So I went home, changed my clothes, because everybody wanted to know how was the evening.
You went home because the evening was over?
Right. It was like 2 in the morning when everything shut down.
All right. So what'd you change your clothes for?
I was done. It was time to go home.
Why did you change your clothes? It was done. Time to go home. Why do you go home and change? You put on your pajamas? Into what did you change? Did you put on your jammies? Did you put on a new pair of jeans? What did you put on?
I just put on regular clothes.
Where were you going?
What happened was that when I went home, I changed my clothes. I went downstairs in my apartment building because everyone wanted to know how was the evening.
So you were going to meet up with some other people?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
As I went downstairs to tell my friend what happened, there were some police officers there. So they told me, go back. So I went back to my apartment. And then when I went to my apartment, there was some police officers driving in the parking lot, shining their lights. I went to the manager, asked him what was going on. He was saying something about someone was damaging their vehicle.
And you didn't know anything about that?
No.
Were you arrested?
No.
Did you file a police report?
Yes, I did.
Can I see it, please? Is this the only report that you have?
Yes, it is. They said that because it was not an emergency and because it was the New Year's, that they could not dispatch another one out. I would have to wait 2 hours, and I live in another city, and there was nowhere for me to wait.
So you did not wait until the police arrived. Is that right?
No.
You did not wait. So when it says here, victim states that when she confronted the suspect about the damage, he hit her, causing a split lip and a bruise to her face, that's something you reported over the telephone.
Yes, it is.
You have photographs?
I have photographs of my vehicle, yes.
I'm not interested in your car. I'm interested in your face.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I also did have to get a harassment order because the defendant continued to call me the next day as if nothing ever happened. He called and said, "What's up? What are you doing?"
Have you used any drugs at this club that you went to?
And later today,
What kind of furniture are we talking about, sir?
We're just talking about regular furniture. I have.
Regular furniture, as opposed to irregular furniture. What furniture?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charvette Cross says, after an argument at a club, former friend Devin Davis vandalized her car and assaulted her. Devin says Charvette punched him first.
Mr. Cross, I'm not satisfied with your story. Doesn't make sense to me that someone is assaulted, has their face bashed in, has their car totaled, slashing all four tires, breaking all four windows, breaking the rear view mirror, interior lights, breaking headlights, ripping off the bug visor, and slashing the upholstery. Doesn't wait for the police to arrive, especially if she can identify the perpetrator. So I'm not going to make that judgment now. That's what you do. You wait for the police to arrive. Police take a statement, they take his statement, they take witnesses' statements, they render a police report. That's of some help to me. He says he didn't do it. She says she couldn't see who was standing there.
Your Honor, when we was inside the building and after she broke up the fight and I asked him why did he do it, she was standing there and she can witness to what he said.
Oh, well, I'm waiting to hear that. What did he say?
He admitted that he did it.
No. What did he say?
He said that he did it. He said he was sorry he did it. He never explained why he did it.
Now I come back to you. So far, this witness has been honest with me. The witness has said to me, I couldn't see who the person was who was standing outside. She didn't lie. She said it was dark. Couldn't see their clothing. I couldn't see their face. That's honest. She could have just as easily said to me, I saw it was him, right?
True.
Then why do you think she would lie to me now when she says that you did it, you would acknowledge that you did it, and said you were sorry? Why do you think she would lie about that?
Well, first of all, I didn't do anything, and I don't know why she said that.
No, I'm asking you, why do you think she would lie about one thing and not another?
I have no idea.
You don't?
No.
And you never got into a physical altercation with Miss Cross at all that evening? Physical?
No, not really physical, no.
Not, what do you mean not really physical? What does that mean, not really physical?
When she came in and pushed my buzzer, I wasn't able to buzz her in because it was broken, so I had to come downstairs. When I come downstairs, I spoke to Charvette through the glass door because she was angry. Are you, what? I said, what's going on? That's when she came out the car. Mm-hmm. So I'm still behind the glass. I didn't go nowhere. I was like, what are you talking about? Well, I know you did this, I know you did that. I said, no, not me. And that's when she swung at me. Because both of them left. They left the premises, went back toward the car. Mm-hmm. Took off.
Now I'll look at the damage to your car.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
First of all, he wasn't truthful. His friend was never with us, and I never used his cell phone when we were at the club. Another thing, he just stated that I swung at him, but he was behind the glass door. Why would I swing at a glass door that's closed?
I gotcha. I want you to think very hard, madam, about what he said to you about the damage to the car.
I remember him saying that he felt bad that he did it. I was waiting for a why, and that's all I ever heard her say. I'd also like to say that the only reason I went in the building was because I saw the struggle. He wasn't behind a door. They were struggling, and I ran in there.
Okay, let me see the estimate to fix this van.
May I say something else, Your Honor? Mm-hmm. At the time that the car was damaged, I still had Christmas gifts in there, and nothing was taken out of it. Brand new bikes and presents, and nothing was stolen.
And it's not a very nice neighborhood.
I also did have to get a harassment order because the defendant continued to call me the next day as if nothing ever happened.
What did he say when he called you?
Well, he called and said, "What's up? What are you doing?" As if nothing had ever happened the night before, which I found very, very strange. And I told him, don't call me anymore. Are you going to pay for my vehicle? He said, well, I'll pay for half because I do feel bad about it. And that's when I said, that's not okay with me. I didn't do half the damage. I don't feel that you should only pay for half.
Did you use any drugs at this club that you went to?
No, but we did smoke marijuana before we went.
What about him?
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,732. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I told him we were only friends, and obviously he wanted more than that.
They didn't see me do it. I was nowhere around.
He totally lied.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Doss versus Harold. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Jennifer Doss is suing her former best friend, 18-year-old student Nicole Harold, for unpaid rent, damage to her car, and for ruining a pair of slacks.
Ms. Doss, the defendant is or was a friend of yours, and your claim has three parts to it. First, it is your claim that she owes you for rent. She moved in with you and your family, and according to you, agreed to pay your mother some rent. She didn't pay your mother rent, you paid your mother, and therefore you want her to repay you. So far correct?
Yes.
Number two, you claim that she set fire to the inside of your car with a cigarette and damaged it. You wanted to pay for that. And number three, you say that she borrowed some clothes of yours, a pair of jeans, and destroyed them, damaged them by cutting off the bottoms, and you wanted to replace the jeans.
They're not jeans, they're dress pants.
Pants. The defendant says you burned the car yourself or somebody else did. She didn't do it. There was never an agreement for rent, and your pants don't fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you move into her house?
I was having family problems at my aunt's house, and I guess I was with her. We were at Firestone Park, this park we were at.
Don't go into all this. I don't care where you were at.
Okay.
You were having family problems at home, and she invited you to come and live with her?
Yeah, she said it would be okay for me to stay.
Okay.
And there was never no agreement. Her mom said if I had a job to help around, like help out, if I had a job.
When you moved, listen to me. Why don't you let me ask questions? When you moved in with her, were you working?
No.
Is that right?
Yes.
So how did you expect her to pay rent?
Well, me and my mom tried several times. We went and put in applications. Me and Nicole both, we went together.
Could you keep your voice up? You went to put in applications for what?
Well, we went to Rubbermaid and...
To find a job?
Yes.
But at the time she moved in with you, she had no job.
Yes.
So how did you expect her to pay rent?
We were going to get a job.
But she didn't get a job.
No.
Good. So there's no rent. You think that I believe that you gave your mother rent for her? You think I believe that? That's what you say in your complaint. Is that what you're going to tell me here in court, that you gave your mother rent for her?
Yes, I did.
I don't believe you. How's that? Next thing is your car. Tell me about your car.
Well, me and Nicole went up to Chapel Hill Mall, and she was smoking, and we met up with one of her friends, and she asked me if I wanted to go over to their house. I said fine, because we weren't doing nothing at the time. We were just driving around. And when we pulled up in front of their house, she went to put her cigarette out on a Taco Bell cup, and she dropped her cigarette, and it went under the seat, and she told me that she put it out. And when I turned on my dome light, there was smoke coming out from under my seat, and I started yelling at Nicole, and she still insisted that she put it out. And then when I reached my hand under the seat, I found the cigarette, and I had burn holes in my seat and on my floor.
And what about on your hand?
No, I didn't have them on my hand.
But was the cigarette out or not?
It was a little bit out, but by the time I found it, it was out.
And let me see the damage to your car.
And there was also a time where she burnt the ceiling because she didn't roll down the window far enough to flick it out, and I also have pictures of that, too.
What is this, on the seat?
Yes, on the bottom of the seat.
Underneath?
Yes.
Can you see it when you look at the car?
No.
And what about this?
That's the ceiling.
Okay. So you can't see the cigarette hole when you look at your car. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, you fill up under the seat and you can feel it.
Did you fix it?
No, I have not yet.
Are you going to fix it?
Yes, I am.
Why?
Because I just bought my car 4 months before that happened, and I'm trying to trade it in so I don't have all these...
Well, maybe if you don't tell anybody, they won't know that there's a little hole underneath the seat where you have to put your hand.
Well, the dealership already knows about it.
Who told them?
I did, because I wanted to get it fixed.
Did you put out a cigarette in her car?
I put it at the top on accident. The top I did. The little burn
So
hole.
this you did?
Yeah, one. There's like a lot of them, but I did one.
There were a lot of them. From where?
From the back seat when she had like tons of people in the back and smoking. She like crowded people in her back seat.
Is that true?
I have a paper right here. It said that there was no other burn holes found when the guy inspected my car.
It was under the seat.
He inspected the whole car.
So the answer is you did burn a hole in her car. Is that right?
Yeah, not the ground, not the seat.
Just this?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Shouldn't let people smoke in your car. All right, let's talk about the pants. Did you borrow her pants? Don't tell me I don't want to hear I can tell when you're telling me the truth. I can tell when you're lying. So I don't care what you wrote in your answer.
Okay.
Forget about that. Did you borrow her pants?
Yes, I borrowed them.
All right, now, that's good. Not your cousin, you borrowed her pants. And did you cut her pants?
No, my cousin Jamie did.
But you borrowed them.
Yeah.
And you're responsible.
She borrowed it too, Jamie, when we were all going to the club. And I told her the next day that Jamie cut them, and she said, I don't know, she said something to Jamie.
Explain that to me.
All right.
You borrowed the pants?
Yeah, I borrowed them once.
And then you returned them to her?
I was living with her.
You returned them to her?
Yeah, but it wasn't cut up yet.
When did your cousin borrow them?
Yeah. When we
Oh, God, give me strength. Not yeah. When requires a date.
It was after I wore them. Because when she first
Who
got
did
it.
she borrow them from?
Her.
Is that right?
Jamie never wore these. She had a different outfit of mine on.
Did she ever borrow them from you?
Nicole did, but Jamie did not.
Really?
Yes.
It's a lie.
Let me see the bottom.
They're cut up over on this side, and right here.
Now, you understand that in your answer, you said to me that you never borrowed her pants because her pants wouldn't fit you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a So that was a lie. Is that right?
Right.
You both lie. How could you both lie? Why would you both lie in court? Isn't that a stupid thing? You didn't pay your mother any rent, and you in fact did borrow her pants, and you did cause some damage to her car. You should be responsible for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Okay, good. How many people smoked in your car within the last month?
None. There has not been no smoking in my car since Nicole burnt the bottom of my seat.
Then let's say prior to Nicole burning the hole in your car. How many people smoked in your car?
Maybe about 3 or 4, not that many.
3 or 4 is a lot of people. I thought you told me in your complaint that you had a no-smoking car.
I do, but I told everybody that smoked in my car, if they can smoke responsibly, they can smoke in my car. But if they can't, I don't want them smoking in my car.
That's a lie.
Can I see those pants, please? Tell me about why you moved out.
Me and her got in an argument, and I
What'd you get into an argument about?
Guys or something. Like, we were at her boyfriend's house, and ever since then, we weren't talking anymore.
So you moved back home?
Yeah.
All right. How much did you pay for these pants?
They were $42 for the whole outfit. I have a letter from the place where I got them from.
Can I see that part, please? When did you buy them?
Probably about a year ago.
Did you ever wear them?
Yes, I have.
How many times did you wear them?
Maybe twice.
Okay. And they were $42. I'm giving you $300 for the hole in your car and $42 for the pants. You got nothing for the rent because that was a fib. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $342. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think she just did it for the money. She needs money.
I just don't think that it was fair that Nicole got away with burning my car when she knows for a fact that she really did it.
It's not fair if I have to pay for it if no one else has to pay for it.
Me and Nikki just can't get along.
We weren't getting along.
It was just a bad friendship all from the beginning.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Olshansky versus Longo. Step forward, please.
Administrative Assistant Elaine Olshansky is suing former friend, 23-year-old interior decorator Jason Longo, for a refund of his fee and for damage to her home. Jason is countersuing for the unpaid portion of his fee.
Ms. Olshansky, you hired the defendant to do some painting in your house.
Correct.
And paid him some $2,200. It's your claim that he did a lousy job. You want your money back, and not only do you want your money back, you want him to pay you to have some of the work that he did treated by somebody else. So you're suing him for even more than what you paid him for. Mr. Longo said that he did a fine job, that you're angry about something else, and he was a friend of one of your children's. Is that right? That's how you knew him?
Correct.
Had he had experience in the painting and decorating business?
I was told he did.
How much work was he supposed to do?
He was supposed to do my dining room, and then we agreed verbally that he would do some extra painting.
Tell me what he was supposed to do, Miss Olshansky. Not just your dining room for $2,200. Come on.
What he did is he painted the dining room, and he painted the trim in the living room, and he had my son help him with...
What other rooms did he paint?
The living room and the hallway. And upstairs in our bathroom, he painted the bathroom vanity.
What work did you do in her house?
Our original agreement was to work on the dining room, which is where I started. As I was working on the dining room...
Okay, what were you supposed to do in the dining room?
The dining room, we were trying to remake the whole thing. She had gorgeous furniture to begin with. We were just removing the wallpaper that was existing.
Okay, so let's start that. You were removing wallpaper.
Yes.
What's next?
We decided on a color scheme for the dining room and a finish that we wanted to do in the lower half. Basically planned out the lighting fixture that we wanted and the colors that were going to be in the room, especially the lower half. We decided to do a faux finish and put a chair rail in the center.
Just a second. Now, then you did a living room trim.
Yes, I did, at no charge.
And hall.
I did the crown molding in the hall.
And what about the vanity upstairs?
The vanity was part of our original agreement to do with the dining room. When she approached me about the dining room, she also said she was remodeling both bathrooms upstairs, and she had asked me what we could do with the vanity, and it was a wood, but because of the heat steam damage, it was kind of tarnished, so we decided to paint it, and we used a metallic paint to mimic the border tile that was upstairs.
Your Honor, it wasn't damaged. My upstairs vanity was not damaged. It was in perfect finish because he didn't prime that either. He just painted right over it very nicely.
Yes, and your original agreement was $2,200, is that right?
Yes. The work also included, though, the solarium room in the back of the house, which what happened was we started doing work in the dining room, and then as I was working in the dining room, Mrs. Olshansky purchased furniture for, I believe it was the living room, but decided that it wasn't going to work out, so we decided to redo their solarium area in the back. That was also included in the price that she paid me, and that was mainly interior decorating. There was no painting done out there. It was just making it into like kind of like a cluttered area, into like a nice sitting room with new furniture, accessories, and
So what
such.
did you do in that area?
No painting was done, just accessorizing, purchasing accessories.
That's what you did?
That's correct.
Okay. So that sounds like a reasonable amount of money, $2,200. So what are you complaining about?
The paint is all peeling
Let me
everywhere
see.
he painted. I have many pictures.
Let me see where it's peeling.
Your Honor, I also have pictures of the before work and the during stage process work. I was not allowed to photograph the after work. The plaintiff did not allow me back into her home to do so.
You never asked.
Shh. This is an outside picture, is that right?
No, it isn't. That's the
That's
back
the
porch.
solarium.
Those are the wires hanging where he did wiring, and it caught on fire because he only used electrical tape and wired 3 wires together, and it caught on fire.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Yes, it is, Your Honor. It's true.
Your Honor, I have a degree in fire protection technology, and I've been in school and been with the fire service for 6 years. It's not true.
Who did the wiring,
Okay.
Jason?
You have a fire marshal's report?
No. We just
Okay.
unplugged it and put the fire out.
I have no idea where you say the paint is peeling. You show me in those at the blow-ups.
Your Honor,
This
would
is
you like
there.
to see my pictures?
Yeah. I find it very hard to look at these blow-ups, so don't show me your... Don't you have regular pictures?
I use a digital camera, so I have to print them out.
Well,
First set of pictures starts with the dining room before. Your Honor, her son also helped me paint. I'd like to see the pictures to make sure that's my work.
Absolutely. Well, whether it's your work or her son's work, it doesn't make any difference. You are the contractor.
Your Honor, I also have estimates
For what?
to repair the damage that was done.
I'm not going to give you any amount of money to repair damage. I've seen the photographs. If you're not satisfied with the job that he did, I suggest you not give him any recommendation.
The pictures show peeling paint. It's latex painted over oil base, which peels like rubber.
Ma'am, this is the letter from the company that I use.
Put it down. Where was the paint peeling? In what room?
Every room, at every spot, it peels off because it's latex over oil. I have
What do you mean every room and every spot?
All
I've
of
seen...
them.
Look, listen to me.
all the trim
I
work.
saw...
Just the
these-
trim. Just the trim is painted latex over oil. And I asked him, I questioned him. I said, I don't believe that you can put latex over oil. And he said, you can as long as you prepare properly.
Your Honor, that was her initial concern, and I did acknowledge that that was an issue that we had to take into account. However, I knew that you could paint latex over oil paint. The dining room was sanded down. The other rooms I cannot account for because I came in midway through the whole
Which
situation.
other rooms?
The dining room was the only room I personally painted myself completely.
No, you painted all of the trim in the living room, and you had Peter, without charge, help you get through painting
Right, and
the
I was
hallway.
also without charge helping the hallway and the living room.
You know, charges...
Just a second. Is that true?
If
That
you
your original estimate was for the dining room and the
Upstairs
vanity.
Correct.
And the other
And the decoration
trim
in the
that
solarium.
he did either helping you out with your son or whoever else was helping him out. Was it your son who was helping him?
Yes.
And that was as a favor?
No, the work wasn't as a favor.
That's a lie.
He agreed to paint in those rooms also.
That is not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
If you're not satisfied, don't give him a recommendation, Miss Olshansky.
Your Honor,
That's all.
what happened was...
That's what? Listen to me. You're not losing.
I understand.
You had some sort of a falling out that involves a social issue, which you seem to suggest here, involving her son, that has absolutely nothing to do with me, that has nothing to do with this case. Ms. Olshansky is complaining about a subjective look at work, which she says is below par. And I'm saying, based on what I see, the rooms as painted, look just fine to me.
It's just the trim, not the wall.
Well, then get somebody to fix the trim. And what are you suing him for $3,000 for, which is more than even you paid him?
That's what the estimates are.
Get your son to do it. Strip down the trim if you're not happy with it and repaint it in either latex or flat or whatever color you like.
Your Honor, may I say something?
You had practically your whole house done. Don't say anything. You're not losing. What's your problem?
I just want to let her know she had complained about the amount that I had charged her, and she was saying that I basically owed her to do the rest of the rooms and that I owed her to do the repairs based off the amount that I charged her for. And I have I have documents that show that she has discounts in excess of $2,500 that I had given her because she was a friend of mine. So if she's saying that I overcharged her, it's completely untrue.
Excuse me, just a second. She's not complaining you overcharged her, sir.
She's complaining.
She's not complaining that you overcharged her. She knows that for the amount of work she had done in her house, she was getting a bargain. She knows that. Her problem is the bargain turned out to be not such a bargain because she wasn't happy with some of the trim work that was done. For that, you don't sue. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I offered to make repairs in Mrs. Olshansky's home, but she denied me the right to come back into her home before the date that she had set.
In person, my home is a shambles.
As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing else I could have done.
We never will have him work in our home again, and he's not welcome.
Personal trainer Amy Duckowitz is suing holistic technician Bonnie Maskery for misrepresentation and for an assault. Amy is seeking a refund for Bonnie's services.
Order. Come to order. Your Honor, this is case number 346 on the calendar in the matter of Duckowitz versus Maskery. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Young man, why don't you have a seat, please? Miss Duckowitz, according to what I've read, back in 1994, you were having some grief issues, emotional problems, and you opened up the yellow pages, looked in the yellow pages, for someone to talk to.
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
And you found the defendant's name.
Yes, I did.
And she was your counselor from 1994 until 2002.
Yes.
Your complaint is severalfold. You've discovered sometime in 2002 that she lacked credentials. You had some sort of a problem with her in April where you say she came to your house uninvited and assaulted your son and damaged some property. You're suing her for breach of confidentiality because she divulged some information about you to your husband. And you want, as I said, all the money back that you paid her from 1994 to 2002. The defendant's going to have an opportunity to respond to all of that, but she says that she never held herself out to be anything other than what she is, which is now sort of a wellness counselor. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have the advertisement that you saw from 1994?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it, please.
I actually have 1994 all the way through 2000.
No, I just want to see the advertisement that you used to pick her out of the phone book, because that's where you say you got her from. Let's start back there.
Okay.
This says Rainbow in a Tear Workshops. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
And where does this say that they're social workers or psychologists or anywhere else?
In that particular ad, it did not say that.
That's all I'm interested in. This is the one you have.
Yes.
So he or she or anyone else did not hold themselves out to be anything other than a Rainbow in a Tear Workshop. I don't know what that means.
Tear.
Excuse me?
Rainbow in a tear.
Tear. What did I say, tear? Rainbow in a tear. Thank you. Rainbow in a tear. Absolutely right. Now, can you tell me what credentials the defendant held herself out to have when you arrived there?
That she was an experienced grief counselor. She made mention of the fact that she also did divorce counseling, marriage and family therapy.
You were there for grief counseling?
That was what I went for.
Okay. You didn't ask her what training she had had to be a grief counselor, did you?
Not at that time, I did not.
When did you?
I began to question. There was a period of time where I did not see Miss Maskery. I moved to the Midwest. I saw her in 1994. I did not see Miss Maskery again until 1999. At that point in time, we had changed our insurance. I'm sorry?
Why did you start to see her again in 1999?
I was still dealing with grief issues with my daughter's death. It seemed to me a comfortable relationship. I did not want to start all over with somebody new.
Okay, well, it was comfortable enough for you to go back to her.
So I did go back to her.
You seem like an intelligent woman, so that if you made a judgment, she helped you some in 1994, and you wanted to go back and continue in 1999. So, go ahead. 1999.
So in 1999, I approached Miss Maskery. The first visit was around the anniversary date of what would have been my daughter's birthday. Also at that time, having subsequently had a set of twins, a young son growing up as well, we did begin to include other family members in the sessions. Some of the sessions were myself, some of the sessions were Miss Maskery and my husband and the children's.
Okay. You went, your husband went, so clearly there was not a problem with her.
There were a number of times where I very much disagreed with what was being said.
To disagree.
And then there were some ethical issues that started to come up.
Well, you want to tell me what happened and when? Because so far, as far as I'm concerned, she didn't hold herself out to be anything other than a counselor. She didn't hold herself out to be a psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker, or anything else. So far, you have no case.
Actually, Connecticut changed its laws in 1995, adapting an approach to the licensure requirements for MSW and LCSW licensing, what you had to have in order to be able to have any type of counseling program whatsoever available to the public. I found those laws, went back through some journals that I had been keeping. I can't even say that this was a professional relationship because there was no regard for profession. The suggestions that were made, and then when I followed through on suggestions, I got laced out in lavender.
Give me an example.
Okay. I was having a difficult time around the anniversary of my daughter's death, expressed a desire to be able to get away, to have a break. Her words to me were, you should leave the whole bunch of them. They're no good. They don't treat you right. They're awful to you. So I made arrangements to go and stay with my parents for the weekend. And she laced me out in lavender, yelled at me, told me I was stupid. What do you think you're doing? How could you do that to your family? How could you just walk out on your family and leave them like this? What's wrong with you? If I told you to jump off a bridge, would you follow me too?
When was this, in March?
This was in March of 1999 that situation occurred.
All right. But then you continued to see her all the way up through 2002.
On and off, there were times where I did go back to see her, more of the grief issues, but they were compounded by family situations.
I don't understand. If you had a problem with her and if you had certain issues and if you were able to look back and smart enough gal to study what the laws were and changes of the laws in the state of Connecticut where you come from, and yet you continued to go to her from 1999 until 2002, until something happened. So something else is bothering you, madam. And I would appreciate if you get to it, because I got a lot of things to do today.
Okay. I'm not denying that I was very stupid.
Well, you don't get rewarded from that, especially by me. Let's go.
So,
something happened. According to you, it happened in April of 2002. Okay. So you want to cut to the chase. You're not getting your money back from 1994, 95, 96, 97, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002. Let's hear the rest.
We had had a number of arguments, a number of disagreements on belief systems, and at that time I was experiencing a desire to change my religious beliefs. My husband was not fully aware of what I was doing as far as no longer believing what he believed in. I came home one night in April. Miss Maskery was in my home talking with my husband. I don't really know what went on in that conversation, but she practically ordered me to come in and see her. And I was very upset. I said, no, absolutely not. No, I'm not going to do this. And I told her that she had to leave, and I walked her out of the house. She got in her car and left. I came back into the house. That's when my husband revealed to me that she had told him that I am a practicing Wiccan, and that I had been practicing this behind his back. Subsequently, later in the week...
Practicing?
Wiccan.
What is that?
Witchcraft.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They were scuffling with the door, a lot of banging around going on. She was pushing, trying to get through the doorway.
You've known her for 8 years. Instead of running away, which sounds a little loony to me, right? You turn around and you say, Bonnie, what do you want? I don't want you in the house.
Well, I kind of figured she was up to something. I didn't know what it was.
Well, why don't you find out?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Duckowitz says her former grief counselor, Bonnie Maskery, misrepresented her credentials. Amy also claims Bonnie came to her home uninvited and assaulted her son.
Right.
Subsequently, later in the week, Miss Mascari went to my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law and made an attempt to reach my parents to corroborate whatever information she had. I felt that this was total breach of confidentiality.
Stop right there. Miss Mascari, I'm going to get to this part of her complaint in a moment. First, I'm going to ask you, what's your educational background?
Educational background, I have a Bachelor of Education in Science. I have a Master's in Science from Central Connecticut State University.
What year?
1992. Part-time basis.
What kind of science?
Counseling.
In counseling?
Counseling education, yes ma'am.
Was there a time when you had a conversation with the plaintiff's husband about her practicing Wiccan?
Mr. Duckowitz had contacted me and asked me to come to the house, and he wanted to know what was going on in his home. Amy seems to be doing a lot of things behind my back. I don't understand what she's doing. She's rejected my religion. And at that point in time, I asked him if he had ever heard of anyone who practiced witchcraft. And he said no. And I relayed to him that he might want to look into the situation and that Amy might be involved in such a thing.
Okay. You recognized, of course, Miss Mascari, that that was a breach of confidentiality.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there any reason why you opted to breach your client's confidentiality?
Yes, ma'am. Her husband had expressed a fear for his family, for her, himself, and that he was confused, did not know what was going on, and did not know what steps to take at that point in time.
What happened next?
On the 23rd of April, around 10:20 in the evening, Miss Mascari showed up at my house, backing her car up into my driveway. Ben says, Mom, it's Bonnie. Bonnie's here. I said, go out and tell her to leave right now. I don't want to talk to her. I refuse to have anything more to do with her. He went out into the driveway, and he was talking to her, and the hands were going. I couldn't hear exactly what was going on. She pushed by him, pushing him up against my car, started to make her way towards the house. He got in front of her. He got into the breezeway. He held the door. She pulled on the door, pulling the rivets out on the door decoration. And he ran to get into the house and tried to close the interior door. They were scuffling with the door, a lot of banging around going on. She was pushing, trying to get through the doorway. I kept saying, go home, get out of here, I don't want you here. Ben pushed the door against her. She hit the dollhouse, which was right beside the door. Furniture got broken, pieces of the dollhouse got broken. She managed to make her way into the house. She and Ben were going at it in the kitchen. I was trying to decide, who am I supposed to protect in this situation?
Well,
what am I supposed to do?
You put your son in the awkward position in the first place. How old's your son?
He was 14 at the time.
You don't send him outside. You're the grown-up. You go outside and say, Bonnie, I don't want you in the house. What'd you send your son out there for? What do you mean, who are going to protect? If you protect your son, madam, you protect your son by not sending him outside in the first place.
You're absolutely right. I was wrong for doing that.
Okay, so let's move on. So now she's in the house.
She managed to get her way into the house. They continued scuffling with one another. She pushed him up against the basement doorway. She
got into the house.
She got into the house. She forced him into the cellarway and pulled the door closed so that he couldn't come back out of it. I started to walk down the hallway. My goal was to get to the phone in the bedroom. She was coming at me, so I went into the bathroom. I tried to close the bathroom door to get away from her. The door ended up going over my foot.
Why didn't you just ask her what she wanted?
I was saying, I don't want you here.
No, why didn't you just say, what do you want here, Bonnie? You've
known
her for 8 years. You've known her for 8 years. Instead of running away, which sounds a little loony to me, right? You turn around and you say, Bonnie, what do you want? I don't want you in the house.
I kept saying, I don't want you here.
Well, what do you want? Why are you here?
Well, I kind of figured she was up to something. I didn't know what it was.
Well, why don't you find out? Why don't you find out? Where was your husband?
He was at work. We ended up, she came into the bathroom on me. She was trying to grab a hold of me. She did grab my shoulders and kind of push on me to push me down.
What did she say to you?
She said to me, I want to talk to you. And I said, I don't want to talk to you. I want you to leave.
Okay, there's a reason. There's a reason. She's not a lunatic. She didn't come to your house to cause a fight. What happened on the 23rd, Miss Mascari?
On the 23rd of April, I received a call from Mr. Duckowitz. Now, this was left on my answering machine. He expressed a concern about Amy, that Amy, upon his leaving the house for work, had threatened herself and, more importantly, threatened him, that on his arrival home, she had threatened to kill him, and he was extremely concerned about the situation in the house.
Ms. Duckowitz, on the 23rd of April of 2002, had you had any difficulty with your husband before he left to work?
We had had an argument.
That's all I want to know. You had had an argument.
Yes.
So it is possible that the reason that Miss Maskery appeared at your house on that day is because she received a phone call from your husband.
I don't know if my husband actually left her a message.
I think he probably did. I think that he probably did. And that sometimes when you have an argument with somebody in the words, you know, I'm going to kill you, I'll kill myself, I'll kill everybody else, you know.
I never said those
whatever.
things.
He was sufficiently concerned so that he called her, which is why she showed up at the door. You should not have forced your way into the house. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am, but I did not.
What?
I did not force my way into the house.
Why don't you tell me your version of what happened?
I was concerned. Ben had come out of the house and relayed to me that his mom did not want to see me. I said, oh, okay. Are you okay? I went to the door. At that point, I saw Amy scuffling in the house to make her presence not seen. I said, Ben, could you open the door, please? I am concerned about you and your mom and the other kids. He said, my mom doesn't want to see you. I said, I understand that, but I have a professional and a personal concern for what is going on. As far as any damage to the door, the house, the breezeway, or anything like that did not exist. Those conditions were there before I ever arrived at the house.
Was there any sort of a report made about this incident?
Yes, ma'am, there is. I have a copy of the police report that was made of the incident.
Who made the police report?
The police that accompanied Mr. Duckowitz on his arriving at home at about midnight or so.
He had a policeman with him?
Yes, ma'am. He had called the police and said he would not go home unless the police were with him.
Well, clearly you had a difficult time with your husband on that date because he did request a police escort home. Correct?
I don't believe the record indicates he requested a police escort home.
You have to read between the lines. They don't say everything here.
My husband came home that night, came into the house, and we were conversing, and I heard the door chimes, and I opened the main breezeway door, and there's two police officers standing there. And they said, can we come in? Is everything all right tonight? And one officer went in the living room with my husband. One officer stayed and talked with me. They were in the home 20 minutes or so. They asked if we could get Ben up, talk to him. Subsequently, they left. The case was unfounded.
All right, I listened to the germane parts of your story, Ms. Duckowitz, and this is a case that should not be in court. Let me tell you what I find. I find, Ms. Maskery, the one thing that you did that, in my judgment, was less than professional was sharing the information that you gathered as a result of your counseling sessions with Mrs. Duckowitz about her practicing any sort of witchcraft or wickery.
Wicca.
Wicca. Wickery is what they do with furniture, I guess.
Yes.
It's not my strong suit. I think that you probably understand, Ms. Duckowitz, that what you and or your family needs is the kind of therapy that can only be provided by someone who has a more extensive credential than does Ms. Maskery. What seems to me to be evident, however, is that the defendant, even though she may not have advanced qualifications, certainly has more of a personal interest in you and your family that you're going to find with most psychiatrists or psychologists. And while I'm not giving her any medals for divulging this information to your husband, and she realizes it was not the right thing to do, but I think she had developed almost a personal relationship with this whole family, you, your son, your husband, and I think that that was done because she was concerned for you, your welfare, your son's welfare, the twins' welfare, your husband's welfare. That doesn't necessarily make it right, because psychiatrists, psychologists are often given information that they feel as if they would love to be able to tell somebody, but they are precluded from doing it. So it was wrong. But you don't get financially compensated for that, Ms. Duckowitz, and your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She definitely had crossed the line.
My professionalism and my credentialing has been attacked.
I was very foolish. I have learned from this example.
I felt violated.
The only thing I can hope for is that the state of Connecticut definitely will come down very, very hard on Miss Mascari and set an example.
26-year-old baker Felix Martinez Jr. and his mother, Jeannie Foster, are suing the mother of Felix's child, 22-year-old customer service rep Shannon Dudley, for car payments and repair costs.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 457 on the calendar in the matter of Martinez Foster versus Dudley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You're Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
And this is your
Mother.
According to your complaint, you co-signed a loan for a car for the defendant. She was your girlfriend at the time, and you have a child together.
Yes.
How old is your child?
2.
You broke up?
Yes.
She stopped making car payments. You repossessed the car, took the car back, made the car payments that she missed. You want Miss Dudley to be responsible for the missed car payments, as well as the cost of repairing the car to put it in a condition so that it could be sold. Miss Dudley says you weren't making child support payments. She fell terribly behind in her bills. She couldn't maintain the car. She spoke to your mother. Your mother agreed to take over the car. She turned the car over to you. That's it. Miss Dudley, I see you're pregnant. It's not his child.
No.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you co-sign this loan?
Around November, I believe. 2002? 2001.
What kind of car is it?
98 Chrysler Concorde.
What kind of insurance do you have on the car?
I couldn't own or operate the car. I didn't keep insurance on it.
Who did?
Shannon.
What kind of insurance did you have on the car?
I had full coverage.
I ask you that question because you say that the car was in an accident and she hadn't had it fixed. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you have it fixed?
Because I didn't have the money for the $500 deductible to pay to fix it.
Okay. When did you separate from the defendant?
April of last year.
And you kept the car?
Yes.
When did you fall behind in the car payment?
I believe in June or July. It's supposed to be $375. I paid $150 and I couldn't, that's all I could afford because I had to pay for our son's daycare and everything.
Was that in June or July?
I believe I paid $150 in June, and then in July I didn't pay anything, and they took the car in August.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So she owed $375.
She owed $225 from June, $375 for July, and $375 for August.
I thought you took the car back.
We did take the car in August, but she didn't make the August payment.
But you had the car in August.
Yes.
So she doesn't make the August payment.
Okay.
So tell me about the conversation that you allegedly had with Miss Martinez about the car.
I told her I was behind and I couldn't afford to pay for it.
Did you tell her that by phone or in person?
I told her on the phone.
Miss Martinez, do you remember the conversation?
Yes, I do. She was going to let the car be repossessed back to the finance company, which would destroy everybody's credit. And I asked if she would give us the opportunity to take the car back so that we could try to get that straightened out so it didn't destroy their credit. They're so young, they just don't understand what happens if you do something like that.
Right, so she said okay.
So she said okay, and on August 6th, we took the car back.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, when you separated from each other in April,
Yes, Your Honor.
and she went to live with her mother, were you making child support payments?
No.
Why not?
Because we went to child support recovery and got the papers for her to fill out and for me to fill out so we can get child support rolling. And until that time, we were buying diapers and filling everything up.
What does that mean?
Just giving her stuff for my son until the child support went through.
Were you working?
Yes.
Then I don't understand why you weren't giving her money.
Because it's just considered gifts.
You have a child. The child has to be supported, whether a court tells you or not.
I had him half the time, Your Honor.
Oh, you did?
Yes. I have
What half?
documentation. It's all documented right here. All the months that I had him half the time.
Let me see.
From April to August, I believe.
What's the child's name?
Felix or Phil.
Absolutely. It looks to me as if you did see him a substantial period of the time, probably half the time. Is that right?
Yeah, I wasn't going to keep him from his father, even if he
No,
wasn't
we're
helping
talking
me.
about support here. I mean, your defense to letting your car payment go is because
Well, I mean, I was paying for all the daycare and food and clothes and...
You were paying for all the daycare?
Yeah.
Were you working?
Yes, I work full-time.
Yes.
Your Honor, my cousin works for the county, and we got her subsidized daycare.
So?
So it was cheaper for her.
Shh. Just a second. How much was it costing you?
When I fell behind on the car payment, I was paying $150 a week for full-time daycare.
Why weren't you paying half?
I don't know, Your Honor.
I don't know either. Why weren't you paying half?
Because my lawyer told me not to.
Well, that's your problem. That's your problem. Your lawyer told you not to? Fine. How do you expect her to pay $150 a week for child care, which is a lot of money, and also make a car payment of $375? Where were you living?
I was living on my own at the time.
So?
And then
How'd you expect her to do that?
I was paying all my bills that I have, and then getting caught back up on some debt I had from Dr. Bills previously, and then...
How did you expect her to do that, Miss Foster?
I'm not sure at what time she started receiving subsidized daycare, but when she was living at her foster mother's house, she wasn't paying rent. We provided all of her diapers.
I don't want to hear diapers. I'm talking about $150 a week, net money, that she has to come up with in order to maintain her job. And he doesn't have to live on his own. Let him come home and live with you. If he has a child that he's got to support.
He is now.
That's good. That's what he has to do.
He never protested child support. He wanted to pay it all along, and he's never denied that he shouldn't. And from the time that she applied to the time that she was awarded child support, there wasn't an order established, so he didn't...
Doesn't have to have an order, madam. According to what your son tells me, he knew that this $150 a week child care was a very heavy burden on her. So you had a relative who was able to get that subsidized, so he knew about it.
Yes.
And my real question to you is, understanding that she fell behind at a time when she was trying to make ends meet and working full time, why would you sue her? Why? Go ahead.
Your Honor, I didn't... Shannon has a poor work history, so I don't know if she's working or what she's doing. If I gave her that money, how do I know where it's going to? So, I don't know.
Your Honor.
Shh. You don't have to give it to her. Say to her, Shannon, I'm going to pay half of the daycare. I will pay $75 a week, and you'll pay $75 a week. That eases your burden. Wouldn't that have been reasonable?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, did you take care of these bills for the car?
Half of them, Your Honor. I paid for the wreck, then my mom paid for it to get caught back up so it wouldn't ruin her credit.
Well, that's $600. You paid for the wreck.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. So that part of your claim I'm dismissing, because you don't want that money from her, do you? I didn't think so. Question is your mother acting reasonably in suing Miss Dudley? I believe you are entitled to your $600 that you paid to catch up on the car payment. Now, do you see this grandchild frequently?
Not as frequently as we used to. The kids are still battling over that. There was a mediation that's going to be set up, and Shannon said that she liked the way that things were. She couldn't afford mediation, and that she wasn't going to change on what the visitation has been reduced to. From what it was in the little diary to what it is now is...
What is it now, Shannon?
It's every other Tuesday. He stays overnight from Tuesday morning to Wednesday afternoon. And then the opposite week of that, he gets him from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on that Tuesday.
Is there any reason for cutting back on the schedule so dramatically?
They had talked me into it ever since I've left him. They both bullied me around about it.
What do you mean they bullied you around about it? Child has a father.
I know. I've never asked him not, I've never held him back and not let him see his father. But it
not
just
see?
Be a part of his life. The way that it was Tuesday until Thursday, and it seemed like every time he went, for a visit on the weekend and came home, he was leaving again, and I hardly ever got to see him.
You think he had him more of the time than you did?
It seemed like it, because I'm working full-time during the day. He works overnight, so he has his days free when he has them. Now,
if he has his days free, as opposed to your son being in daycare, why wouldn't you let him be with his father?
He does. He goes, instead of a standard visitation at Friday at 5 o'clock, he goes in the morning and doesn't go to daycare. He goes to daycare part-time now.
Okay, good. Who are you living with now?
My boyfriend.
What does he do for a living?
He's an electrician.
Does he act reasonably towards your son?
He treats him very, very well.
Good. Does he have children of his own?
No, he doesn't.
Fine. You owe Miss Foster $600.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
As far as the cost of repairing the car, you're going to deal with that. You want to take care of that, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
His mother handles everything for him, as you can see.
I want to look out for the well-being of my son.
I think that's what ruined it.
She doesn't realize how important it is for a son to be involved in his child's life.
They're only out to get whatever they can get for themselves. without any regard to Felix, to my grandson.
If I don't do what she says, she cuts my visitation.
Where he wants to spend his child support, have him pull up his sleeves and see all of his tattoos, what he pays, where he puts his money.
Tattoos, it doesn't cost me as much as they think.
Magazine sales rep Dina Mason is suing her ex-boyfriend, crane operator Jeff Campbell, for an unpaid loan to buy a truck. Jeff says it was a gift because Dina didn't like his old truck.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 497 on the calendar in the matter of Mason versus Campbell. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Mason, how old are you?
I'm 39 years old.
You have children?
3.
How old are they?
12, 13, and 15.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an advertising representative.
According to your complaint, in 2001, you loaned Mr. Campbell, who you were dating, $4,000 to put down as a down payment on a truck.
Yes, I did. Mr. Campbell didn't have a vehicle.
No, listen to me. I didn't ask you a question yet.
I'm sorry.
And the understanding was that if you loaned him the down payment, he would take care of the rest of the payments, and he would pay you back this $4,000. Mr. Campbell's defense to this action is that it was a gift. Is that right, sir?
That's right, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's do the facts that we know. She put down $4,000 on a truck that was purchased in your name. Is that right?
That's right.
And you took out a car loan for the rest.
That's right.
Now I want you to convince me that this was a gift.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm ready.
Well, I was perfectly happy with the vehicle that I had. She told me that she would like for me to have a nicer truck, and she did not like my truck being parked in front of her house because it was a ranch truck. There was nothing wrong with it. It was an older truck, but I was perfectly fine with it, and it was in good shape. And one day she come home and she said, I got an advance on my check. Let's go look for a truck. So we went and looked for a truck.
Okay, so she said to you, I want to go look for a truck. And what did you say to her?
I said, that's fine. So we went and looked. And it just happened to be that day we found one. And I told her it was too much because we already found out the bank would only loan me $15,000.
When did you find that out?
Like 2 or 3 days before, I believe.
Well, what were you even checking into that for, sir, if you didn't want a new truck?
Because she had mentioned it prior to this.
What do you mean she had mentioned it prior to this?
She just wanted me to have a nicer truck. And I said, I don't even think I can get approved for the loan.
You said, I don't even think that I can get approved for the loan, but I'm going to check and find out. And then you called to see.
Yes, she asked me to go
down
there.
So it wasn't that she just came home one day and said to you, I want to go buy you a truck. This is a discussion that you had had with her previously.
Yes, ma'am.
And that you actually went so far as to call up to find out how much money you could get on a loan.
Yeah, to check my credit, see how bad it was.
Keep going.
And we went and looked that evening, and we found a truck, and I thought it was too much.
Look at me.
I thought it was too much. And so she was good with bargaining with people, and she knew the owner. So we went, and we talked to them. She got the truck down to what she thought was reasonable.
Well, what did you think? Don't you have a brain?
Yes.
And what did you think?
I thought it was still a little too high.
Is that what you told her?
Yes.
So you said it's too much?
It's too much.
Too much. Can't do it.
That's right.
That's what you said?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So we signed the paperwork. I signed the paperwork. She got it to where she thought...
Well, why would you sign the paperwork if you said, no, it's too much?
Because she said she was going to put the down on it. And I said, are you sure that's what you want to do? And she goes, yes, it's no problem. So that's what we did.
So that was in May of 2001?
2001.
What happened after that? How long did you stay together after that?
We stayed together approximately a year.
You lived together?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
No.
When did you stop living together?
We stopped living together approximately August of 2001.
Does that sound right, sir?
It could be. I'm not very good with dates, Your Honor.
Well, try years.
I'm sorry.
Don't get sorry. Try to get intelligent. May 2001 is when you bought the truck.
Yes.
How much after that did you and the plaintiff separate?
Well, we separated a few times in between. We were off and on, off and on, off and on.
When was the last time that you actually lived together, I assume, in her home?
It had been last year in, I'd say, June.
Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Has he stayed in your house since August of 2001?
He came and stayed at my house in December of 2001 for about 4 days.
Why?
I felt sorry for him because his dad had kicked him out.
Is he a drinker?
No.
Does he use drugs?
No.
Why did his dad kick him out?
They live in an old trailer in
I don't care if they live in an old
Wasco,
trailer.
and they just always got in fights and arguments.
Right.
And he came and stayed at my house, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't have you here. I was only going to let him stay for a couple days. And
You know,
it
there
looked
was
like
some
he
other
getting
trouble
very
with him,
comfortable.
too, was there not, Miss Mason, that you seemed to allude to in your complaint, people looking for him for money?
Yes.
When was that?
It was in September of 2001. The first case was he owed some money for a horse, and I had given him the money already. It was a horse for my daughter, and I wasn't aware that he hadn't paid the man. And he came in my house hostile, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't know where Jeff is at. And I own a 30-foot camping trailer at Aljo with 2 pop-outs, and the guy did not believe me that it was mine. And so I had to literally pull out my paperwork of the lease and show it to him that it was not Jeff's, because he wanted to put a lien against it. Then we had a girl come to the door. She threatened to tear my vehicle apart and repossess anything that I had, because he told her it was his home, his vehicles, and he felt sorry for me and my children, so he was letting us stay there. And that's how he got people to let him live in their homes.
You mean and after this you let him come back to your house in December? Why?
I felt sorry for him.
He already left you holding the bag for $4,000. Why would you feel sorry for him?
I'm just a nice person.
Okay. Who are you?
I'm his ex-girlfriend. Part of this is true and part of it's not true. Jeff and I got together early November of 2001. We were together for approximately a month. Dina came to my home and started calling my home, harassing him, calling him, wanting him back.
Wanting him back or wanting her money?
Wanting him back. She did not
Really?
want money. She never brought up anything about money for the longest time.
Did you speak to her?
Yes, I did.
Well, tell me about the conversation you had with her in November of 2001.
That they were still together. He was living with her. She wanted to know who I was, what was going on between us. And I
Was
said,
he living at your house?
Yes, he was, ma'am.
How much rent was he giving you?
Nothing.
Where did you meet him?
I met him through a friend. We knew quite a few people that were mutual friends.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a cashier.
What does he do for a living?
He's works in the oil fields.
Doing what?
Tearing down the big pumping units.
How often does he do that?
Well, Monday through Friday.
Then what does he do with his money?
He spends it.
On what?
Dirt bikes.
What else?
Clothing, dirt bikes. We eat out.
What else?
That's about it.
Really? I doubt that. I have a good nose for that. Somebody who works construction makes a lot of money. And unless he's supporting a whole gaggle of children, there are only a few things that you get addicted to that prevent you from providing for your own sustenance, like rent and food and clothing and cars and other things. One of them's gambling. I assume he's not a gambler, is that right?
No.
And then there are a couple of other things that you can become addicted to that also take a lot of money.
Ma'am, his dirt bike takes a lot of money.
How much did he pay for the dirt bike?
I don't know how much he paid for the dirt bike. He had it before we got together.
When you say it takes a lot of money, how much is a lot of money?
Well, he's quite frequent with blowing them up, and he spent, I know, of at least $1,000 or more at a time rebuilding it.
What do you mean he blows them up? What does that mean?
He rides them hard and blows the motors up.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
How old are they?
9 and 4.
Why would you want them around somebody who has a fried brain?
Because I don't believe that he has a fried brain.
He does. He does. He's an amoral person who has a fried brain because he's over 25 years old. He sucks off women, vulnerable women with children who are really trying to, you know, they're living from hand to mouth because it doesn't look to me as if you're a trust fund child. Right? So he's sucking off you. He sucked off her. Whenever he gets some money, he blows it on things for himself, and then he doesn't treat those things with any kind of respect. According to you, he'll spend $1,000 on a dirt bike, and he rides it hard and blows up the motor. Well, that's something that somebody might do if they were 15, but not somebody who's in their mid-30s, unless they get women to take care of them and support them. Then he can take all the money he gets from his construction and oil stuff and do with it whatever he wants. Whatever toys he wants to play with, and whatever things that he needs to make him feel good. So if you want to expose your children to a person with that kind of character, that's your problem. That doesn't make you very smart. Do you understand?
Yes.
She wasn't very smart. She got snookered for $4,000. But you're not going to get it back because you got snookered for it. You gave it to him. You didn't loan him this money. He said he wanted it, and you said, I'm going to give it to you. You want to know how I know that? Because if in December of 2001 somebody who had snookered me out of $4,000 and made a fool out of me came to my house and said, I need a place to stay, I would have called the police and said, I have somebody trying to get into my house. Get him away from here.
Ma'am.
That's why. Yes.
On that, as far as that goes, Dina called my cell phone and begged him to come back to her. He was living with me at the time.
Listen, my dear, I've been around a little longer than you have. My eyesight isn't so good. I look at him and I see nothing that I would wipe my feet on. Do you understand?
Yes.
So the fact that the two of you seem to be enthralled with him, maybe he has some hidden attribute that certainly I don't see. You want him? That's your business. There was no loan. You bought him a truck. Get over it. Your case is dismissed.
Thanks, Val.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He was hoping he wouldn't have to put it down.
She just thought she had to have a nicer vehicle in front of her house. Well, she had one for a while. Now she don't.
He said he would give it back to me in a couple days. It never happened.
Just got tired of her and the crap.
He got so much self-confidence having the vehicle, he ended up with about 4 girlfriends to go with it.
I'd rather be with my bikes. I'm an adrenaline junkie.
Date someone who has responsibility.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Robinson versus Bradford. Step forward, please.
Psychotherapist Cliff Robinson is suing his former friend, lab technician Angela Bradford, for the cost to repair his car window. Angela is countersuing also for the cost of a car window.
Mr. Robinson, it is your claim that the defendant's son broke a window in your car, that the defendant, who was a friend of yours, agreed to fix it and did not pay you the money that it cost you to fix this rear window. Was it a rear window of your car?
Rear quarter panel, yes.
Ms. Bradford says, I think she's saying that she had initially agreed to pay for the window. Is that right?
That is correct.
But later, your son broke one of her windows in her car, and you should pay for that window. Is that your defense?
It is.
So let's make this as simple as we can, because Bird knows that I like to keep things simple. How much was the window in your car, Mr. Robinson?
The window itself, Your Honor, came to $972.29.
Let me see.
I have pictures and the estimate.
Well, I'm just curious because in here you say that my window cost $800 to replace, sir.
That's with the labor and what it cost to.
What did it cost you?
$972, whatever the difference was.
How did you pay for this?
Cash.
No. Not even sure about this bill. What kind of window was this?
It's a rear quarter panel window in the Eddie Bauer Expedition.
Oh, so it's a big window.
It's a big window.
Okay. Now, the only question that I have is whether or not you are in any way responsible for damage that she alleges your son did to her window. So, Miss Bradford, I read your answer and I read your cross-complaint. And it appeared to me that you two were friends.
Correct.
How many children do you have?
I have 4.
And there came a time when, after this incident involving his car, he brought his kids over to your house to play.
Correct.
And asked you if you would watch his kids for a while.
For 15 minutes, which turned into an hour and a half.
Whatever. You agreed to take care of his children. And it was while you were in charge of his children that your car window was broken.
Correct.
Should have taken care of him better. Do you understand?
I hear exactly what you're saying, Renee.
Because it was your job to supervise the children, because you had assumed that responsibility when he left his kids there. Therefore, if something happened to your car as a result of a ball being thrown, that's your problem, not his. It's a lot of money. Do you have any insurance, sir?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Well, what's your deductible?
$1,000.
Do you have any proof that you have a $1,000 deductible?
I didn't bring any insurance with the information.
Why
so
is
no.
that?
I didn't think it was relevant.
Well, it is relevant, sir. It's relevant how much out-of-pocket you had. Are you telling me that you actually paid Collins Auto Glass $972 in
That's
cash?
correct.
Let's give them a call and find out. You know these people?
No, I don't.
They were just people you chose randomly?
That's correct.
Okay. In Seattle, Washington, for Collins Auto Glass. So there is no Collins Auto Glass in Seattle. Mr. Robinson, sir, is this Collins Auto Glass in Seattle?
Yes, it is.
Well, they don't have a listing for him in Seattle, sir.
Well, I know
They don't have a listing for him in Seattle, Washington. There is a phone number on here, sir. 206 number? There is a phone number here. It's your phone number. The only phone number that appears on this is your phone number.
Yeah, my information is on there, and then in the... I don't know.
Show it to him.
Yeah, that's my telephone number.
That's correct.
Oh, yeah, no. I don't.
Collins Auto Glass doesn't have a phone number for their business. They also don't know how to spell residential.
Well, I know in June, when I got it fixed, there was a Collins Auto Glass. I got it out of the Yellow Pages.
Well, it must have been their last job, Mr. Robinson, because they closed down. They're not there anymore. Sort of interesting. But I'm holding you to what your complaint says, or your sworn complaint says it was $800 to replace. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. On your counterclaim, Ms. Bradford, I've already explained to you the children were under your supervision when your car window got broken, so if you weren't supervising them adequately, I can't fault him for that. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
When she actually decided not to make payments, I don't know. I know that she called me, it was almost 2 weeks later. Around the time her first payment was due, and she decided that she wasn't going to.
Because he knows that one of his children broke my window.
You know, I kind of hate that it had to come to this, but I'll be mature about this situation and try and be forgiving if she would like to.
20-year-old deli clerk Stephanie Bartos is suing her former friend, 22-year-old telecommunications salesman Moses Jones, for a series of unpaid loans.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Bartos versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Bartos, you and the defendant had been good friends for a very long time. How many years had you been good friends?
Between 4 to 5.
And you claim a series of loans to him.
Yes.
Mr. Jones, while acknowledging that you gave him some money, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And while acknowledging that you purchased some things for him, said everything that you gave him were gifts, and that you're suing him for a reason that he's going to tell me later. So, when did you make the first loan to him?
February 28th of this year.
Under what circumstances?
That he was to pay me back as soon as possible.
Now, tell me what he said, what you said, what it was for, whether it was cash. Tell me what it was.
Okay, I received a settlement check for an automobile accident, and I picked him up from his home, and he said he had to get some clothes. We got the clothes, shoes, all that stuff, and he stepped outside and he asked me if I could pay for it for him.
Is that what he said? Could you pay for this for me?
If I could do him a large favor.
Yeah.
And if I could pay for it for him.
Why did he want you to pay for it for him?
I do not know.
So what did
Obviously,
you say?
he didn't have money.
So what did you say to him?
I said, under the terms you pay me back. He was my best friend.
Well, you didn't say to him, under the terms you'll pay me back. That doesn't sound like something that comes out of your mouth, Ms. Bartos. So you have to be very careful about what you say to me, because I can usually tell the truth.
Okay.
Okay? He said, he stepped outside and he said, can you pay for this, or can you take care of this? He must have said, why? How do you go shopping without money? I mean, that would be normal, even with your best friend. So let's hear what transpired in February of '02. Well, he came outside and said, can you take care of this for me? And what did you say to him?
Sure.
You said, sure.
Under the terms that he was to pay me back, it was a loan. He said, could you loan this to me?
Now you gave me two different scenarios. You said, can you take care of this for me? Can you pay for this for me? And now you say, could you loan me the money to pay for this? Which one was it?
It was a loan. It was a loan.
I'm looking for the words, Miss Bartos. You're not cooperating with me. You're looking to the end result. I am looking for the words that were exchanged. Are you following me?
Yes.
Maybe I'm not going to get the answer from you, so forget it. Mr. Jones, you remember February 28th of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the clothes shopping.
I had to get some new clothes. Stephanie was a good friend. She wanted to go with me, so we went down to the shop. I actually left my wallet at home that day. That's why I forgot, just running out, getting everything together. She was on her way.
So you left your wallet at home?
Yeah. Okay. That's why I asked her.
What was in your wallet?
My credit card.
So you were intending to pay for the clothes with your credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, I went to look for my wallet to pay. Didn't have it on me. I said, Stephanie, can you pay for it? She said, sure. And that was that.
Well, did you mention to Stephanie, because you must have mentioned to Stephanie, can you pay for this for me? I left my wallet home.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your story?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, it doesn't.
I want to tell you something. She is so fixed at getting her loan across that she's not paying attention. Maybe she just don't get it. But according to you, that's what happened, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when was the second money that you gave him, madam?
March 8th.
Go ahead.
And he had phoned me a couple days prior. He said that he was in financial debt. He couldn't make rent. He didn't get his promotion through his job. And he asked me if he could borrow some more money. And he said that his only other means was to do something illegal. And I told him, I said, you have a 1-year-old son. You don't want to jeopardize that. And so he came up to my job on March 8th, and I loaned him $1,000 so he would not come up here to L.A. to do something illegal.
How much were his clothes?
A total of $445.47.
So tell me about the $1,000, sir.
I had talked to Stephanie a couple of days prior, and I told her that, you know, I was trying to get a couple of things moving quickly.
Well, I don't know what that means. You're
well,
in the moving
I was trying to get a couple of, you know, things that I wanted, and I didn't get my promotion.
So I don't understand what you mean. You're trying to get a couple of things that you wanted. What does that mean?
Like, I wanted to buy a new outfit. I wanted to get some stuff. I wanted to just buy some more stuff that I wanted personally for myself. You know, and then I got hit with having to take care of rent at the same time, and I didn't manage it correctly. I had told Stephanie what was going on within my life and that I had a deal going down, which was not a very honest deal, but I had a deal going down that was roughly about $2,000. And she said, you know what, hey, you know, I'm your friend. I don't want you to do that. You know, I don't want you to put your life in jeopardy. You know, whenever you need something, you can call upon me. You know, I told her, I was like, hey, you know, I don't know when I'll be able to, you know, have this money again. I don't know what, you know.
No, what does that mean? I don't know
I'm
when
sorry.
I'll be able to have this money again. What does that mean, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I don't know when I'll
You don't
be
know
able
when you'll be able to pay her back. Is
Yeah,
that what
for
you
that.
meant? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know when I'll be able to pay you back.
Right.
And what did she say?
She said, don't worry about it. You know, you're my friend. Here you go. And she just wrote the check to me.
Okay. And what was the next amount of money that you claimed that you loaned to him, Miss Bartos?
We went the next week, we went to tattoo parlor, and he wanted to get a tattoo on his right upper arm with his son's name, and I paid for it under the pretenses he was to pay me back.
Okay, Miss Bartos, that I'm not even entertaining. The tattoo. Do you understand? If you're dumb enough
I'm not
to
dumb.
give, yes you are.
No.
If you're dumb enough to give him money for clothes, if you're dumb enough to give him $1,000 because you say he was going to be evicted, then you don't indulge him in paying for a tattoo with his son's name on it and expect to get paid. Not from me, because that's the height of stupidity. Now,
But he was to pay me back with his income tax return.
I don't care what you say. I don't believe that. Who is this person?
My father.
Even your father understands that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The tattoo was already starting.
So what? What's your son's name?
Moses the Fifth.
So then you can have Mo.
And later today,
My tools.
I'm not interested in your tools that were in the car, sir. Mr. Green, do I look stupid to you?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Bartos says former friend Moses Jones owes for several unpaid loans. Moses says he never agreed to pay.
Somebody has already borrowed almost $1,500 from you because he needed it. The first thing he needed were clothes. The second thing he needed was money so that he wouldn't get evicted. Somebody who needs money so that they're not going to get evicted doesn't spend a couple of $100s to get a tattoo on his arm. And if you are not stupid, then you say to him, Mr. Jones, you have a lot of debt. You don't need a tattoo on your arm.
Well,
so I'm not paying for that, whether you say you're going to pay me back or not pay me back.
Well, initially, I went there to get a tattoo on my back shoulder of my daughter's name. And he sat down, and the tattoo was already started. He didn't have the money, so I went with his friend to go get the money. The tattoo was already starting.
So what? What's your son's name?
Moses the Fifth.
So then you can have Mo. You understand what I'm saying?
Order.
Okay. Shh. Then you find out, because you called him, and you find out that he got married. Is that right?
Yes.
Because that's his defense. He says, you're really mad about all these things because this very best friend of yours had gotten married 2 years before and didn't tell you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
How come you neglected to tell your very good friend that you got married, sir?
Well, that's a weird situation that happened.
That's not weird.
It is weird if I were to get into the details about it. But, you know, it was a situation that I wasn't very comfortable with, and I was in the process of a separation. That's why...
Well, you weren't separated at the time you got married.
No, I wasn't.
No.
But
So
when I got married, me and her weren't even really talking. There was a 2-year gap where we didn't even talk.
but then somebody picked up a phone, somebody met in the street and whatever, and you say, hi, how you doing? No, good. How are you doing? Anything happening? What's doing? Yes, I got married.
Right.
But you didn't say that.
No, because...
Did you say that? Did you tell her you were married when you took the $1,000 from her?
No, I was...
Were you living with your wife at the time?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And I was there. I've gone there before.
All right, Ms. Bartos, despite yourself and in spite of yourself and your testimony, Mr. Jones has cooked his own goose because Mr. Jones testified that he was intending to pay for his... Stop smiling, it's irritating. Mr. Jones has indicated that he was intending to pay for these clothes, but for the event of the lost wallet or the left home wallet, he was going to pay for his clothes. So what, you keep shaking your head no. You're so thick and so fixed in your position that you're not paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
Then try to pay attention. Which indicates that he had intended to pay for his own clothes, which would have been very natural for him to say, I left my wallet home, could you cover this for me? And I'll pay you back. Not I left my wallet at home, so would you buy these clothes for me because I don't have my wallet, and I'm not going to pay you back. That's what he said, because he's not too swift. And as we come to the $1,000, I also believe, based upon his testimony, that he led you to believe that he was going to pay you back at some unspecified time. Because according to him, he said, I don't know when I can pay you back. And you said, that's all right. But the intention was to pay you back. And that's what you relied on. So I'm entering a judgment in your favor for those 2 loans. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,445. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He lied to me. He had been married never told me.
You know, I don't feel it was a betrayal just because I didn't tell her.
He stood up there and blatantly lied.
Daycare provider Sandy Brown is suing her son, carpet installer Henry Brown, for bail and household expenses.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 48 on the calendar in the matter of Brown versus Brown.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Brown, the defendant is your son.
Right.
Is that right? Are those prescription glasses, sir?
Yes, ma'am, very much so.
Well, would you take them off, please? Because if you have to read anything, I'll let you put them back on. Very good.
They're not for reading, they're for seeing you, Your Honor.
Well, put them back on again for a second, sir. Take a good look. Now take them off. Mrs. Brown, your lawsuit seeks return of money for several things. The first thing is bail money that you claim that you loaned to your son at some point. The second thing is for mortgage payments on a house that you are currently living in. And from what I gather from your complaint, there was some sort of an arrangement that your son would make the mortgage payments on this house, and ultimately the house would belong to him. You would live in the house, take care of your grandson, your son, correct? And then there was some sort of an altercation with your son, you put him out of the house, and you believe that he should continue to make the mortgage payments on the house as per your agreement.
No.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that.
I am only asking for a mortgage, well, it's not just mortgage, it's household expenses for the month of August, which he lived in my house. That was August of 2001 was the last month that he lived in my house, and he did not pay anything.
Okay, so it's just for 1 month?
It's just for 1 month, and it's $1,500 for the household expenses because that was our agreement.
How much was the mortgage payment?
$758.
Okay. How much was the bail?
The bail was $1,000.
And you have proof of that?
Yes. I have a bank statement here where I took the money out of the bank.
No, I need the bail statement, not where you took the money out.
I could not find it. I looked and looked, and I could not find the bail statement. I don't know if he has it or what.
All right. And the second thing that you want is for verbal abuse, which you don't get paid for, because you're suing him for $4,000. Way over. Okay, and the mortgage payment is $758. Okay, let's get to the bail first. Tell me the circumstances surrounding this bail.
The bail was, he was driving a car that was illegally licensed, and he got pulled over, and they took him to jail. And I can't remember if he had some other...
When was this?
This was in June of 2001.
Does that sound familiar, sir?
It sounds familiar in January, yes.
January of 2001?
No, it wasn't January. It was in the spring. The weather was beautiful.
Oh. Were you taken to jail, sir?
Yep.
Did you have bail?
Yep.
Where'd you get it from?
I have retrieved bail from Michael, a friend of mine. My mom has put up collateral for her house more than once, but just collateral. No. I paid $1,000 and the collateral for that particular bail. The one he's talking about was for another charge that he was charged with, and his friend Michael did pay that bail for him because I had no more money to pay any more bail.
Why do you think your mother would lie about posting bail for you?
That's going to be the whole case. She's used her collateral more than once. I've asked her
more than once for your bail?
Yep.
Well,
Yes,
how many
ma'am.
times have you been arrested, sir?
A few.
How many is a few?
A number?
Do you not? Are you telling me you don't remember?
Well, Your Honor, I've absolutely been in trouble. I haven't recently, but yes, I've been in a deal of trouble and asked her for collateral at least 4 times.
Okay, well, this time she says in June of 2001, she also had to post the bail. So if you can't remember how many times you've been arrested, maybe you don't remember who posted the bail all the time.
I remember exactly who posted the bail, Your Honor.
Well, who posted the bail in June?
Michael.
She said that that was in January.
No, there was no arrest in June. I was only arrested in January. I went to the court I dates. could I be know wrong what the with date the is. month. It was in the spring. Those two cases were very close together.
Okay. Tell me, Mrs. Brown, did you get a call from your son from jail?
Yes.
Well, tell me about the phone call. Maybe that will
He
jog
just
his
called
memory.
and said that he had been arrested, then he needed to get bailed out, and could I get the money? And I said, yes. The money that I used was money that was supposed to stay in the bank. That's why I am asking for the money back, because the money was for something else.
What was it for?
It was for, we were going to do some work on the house.
Let me look at your statement. You say that you took out $1,000. So that you would have exactly when you took out the $1,000.
Well, this is showing up on my June, so that's why I said June.
Well, it would tell you the date in June.
6/4, $1,000.
Now, tell me exactly where you took this $1,000. Look at me.
I bailed him from a bondsman in Tacoma. I could not find that bondsman. I looked in the phone book and I made calls and I could not remember the name of that bondsman. I bailed him out. He went to court. And then, of course, you don't get that $1,000 back because that was the 10%.
Let's get to the house payment in August. Did you, in fact, live in the house in August, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Beginning of August until when?
Till, actually, I think it was after, more like the 1st or 2nd of September, I think.
And your arrangement with your mother was that you would take care of the household expenses?
The agreement of me buying the home was me buying the home, yes, and everything involved with it.
Did you pay for August?
The money for paying for the August rent was supposed to be paid on that Friday. Something had come up, I didn't get to it. That Friday night is the night that she came home and did her rampage and called the cops and kicked us out. That night, Friday night, assuming that I'd already paid, which I had not gotten a chance to pay yet.
But
so
it's due the beginning of August, not the end.
It gets paid, Your Honor. It gets paid every single month.
So your mother is correct that you did not make the $1,500 payment that you were supposed to make?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Is there any defense to that $1,500, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, she threw me and my son out in the street in the middle of the night.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You must have had some lollapalooza of a fight with your mother.
There was no fight.
You mean your mother went through a psychotic episode?
She does not like my son's mother.
That's not what happened at all.
And later today,
I don't remember. It was such a long time ago.
It's not so long ago in the scheme of things.
You know, I have the emails when I had gotten the order of protection, and...
Let's get to the money!
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandy Brown says her son Henry Brown owes for 1 month of household expenses. Henry says his mom threw him out on the street in the middle of the night.
Go ahead.
I came to give her the money for that mortgage the next week after she had told me I couldn't come around, told me I couldn't have my stuff, told me my son couldn't have his stuff, and I'd come to have a couple cars towed at her request, at which time the police were called by her.
Well, you must have had some lollapalooza of a fight with your mother.
There was no fight. I was at home with my son, with my son's mother, with her daughter, and with my 13-year-old nanny when she came home at 10 o'clock at night and kicked and booted me out.
You mean your mother went through a psychotic episode?
She does not like my son's mother. That's been her issue for about a month before this happened. That was her only issue. We had had a fight about her before she left, I think it was on a Wednesday, and she came home Friday evening, and her first words were, she has to leave, she has to go, she has to leave. And I told her, no, it's 10 o'clock at night, and she got on the phone, called the cops, and told the cops I had been abusive and everything else. I'm standing there with cooking utensils, cooking food.
Why did you put your son out, Mrs. Brown?
That's not what happened at all.
Well, what
we
happened?
had been having an argument that whole week.
About what?
I did want him to move out because I didn't appreciate him yelling at me, getting in my face yelling at me. I did not appreciate him saying derogatory remarks about me. This is my home. I've lived here for 28 years, and I didn't feel like I had to put up with it. They had taken it upon themselves to move my furniture around. I did not yell at him. I said, Hank, I said, I don't want callers spending the night here. That's what I told him. And he just started yelling at me. And I said, okay, you need to move out. And he says, I'm not moving. I said, either you move, I'm going to go, or I'm going to call the police. He said, go ahead. So I said, fine. So I did. He had a warrant. He left so he wouldn't get arrested. 2 weeks later.
What did he have a warrant for?
I believe it's non-payment of child support. He has an older daughter. Then on that Monday, which was like the 3rd of September, I went straight to court and filed for a protection order.
Okay.
He came to pick up his cars. I called the police, gave the police a protection order. They served him, and he went to jail on that same arrest warrant 2 weeks later.
Not on anything that had to do with you?
No. Didn't have anything to do with me.
Okay. Did he ultimately get his personal property and his son's personal property from the house?
Well, yes, he did. And by the way, when we went to finalize the protection order, I told him then, I need your stuff out of my house in 2 weeks because I need to have a roommate move in with me because I can't afford this house by myself. He never came. Ultimately, I put his son's bedroom set on the deck. I told my son, tell him to come and get Hanky's bedroom set before it is ruined, because by then it was like the end of October. He never came.
Where was he living?
Around.
With his son?
With his son. He's still living around with his son.
Okay, well, I don't have a counterclaim for that. In any event, I find that you did, in fact, post his bail, $1,000, and he owes you $1,500, almost acknowledged for August of 2001. So I'm entering a judgment for $2,500. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This woman, out of spite, has put me and my son out of our home that we had a good faith agreement on.
The agreement was if I died, he could inherit the house.
Don't trust nobody.
I guess he thought I was going to die in 2 or 3 years. I don't know.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Caban versus Reyes. Step forward, please.
Hairstylist William Caban is suing his former friend, 25-year-old waiter Jeffrey Reyes, for an unpaid loan to bail him out of jail.
According to your complaint, the defendant owes you for bailing him out of jail.
Yes.
Tell me exactly how that happened, sir.
We went out on Thursday night to karaoke. And
What was the date?
May 16th. And one of my friends met me at the bar. And he wanted to leave. I asked Jeffrey, do you want to go? He says, no, I want to stay.
Your Honor, he left me there.
Just 1 second. I'll get to you. Go ahead. Get to you. Go ahead.
And I said, do you want to come? He said, no, I'm going to stay here. I want to sing. So I said, okay, I'll do you a favor. I gave him my ATM card. I gave him $20 plus my car keys. And I said, I'll talk to you later.
ATM card for what?
To drink. He didn't have no money.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day he calls me and said, he's in jail, to bail him out of jail.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I said,
Mr. Reyes, could you wait until I look at you and ask you questions, please? Now look at me. Could you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he say to you?
He said, Will, can you please come and get me out of jail? Do you have the money to get me out of jail? And I did not have the money to get him out of jail. I had to go running around town, borrow money to get him out, because he kept on calling me every 15 minutes that my cell phone died and his cell phone died. There's 3 cell phones in the car, and they all died because he was calling us so much.
What do you mean 3 cell phones in the car?
We had 3 cell phones in the car. There's 3 people trying to get him out of jail. The only one that got him out of jail was me.
Well, who else was in the car?
It's another friend of his roommates. I don't know his name.
So you're driving around with 2 other friends in the car?
No one had money to get him out.
Just answer my question, sir. You're driving around with 2 other friends.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do this my way.
Okay.
Do you understand? Because my way, I'm going to get the truth.
Okay.
Where were you going?
We getting money to bail him out of jail.
And when you bailed him out, what did he say to you?
He said to me, thanks. And I said, you need to pay me back.
And what did he say?
He said, yes, he'll pay me back. And I stressed it to him. I need this money back.
All right, Mr. Reyes, now I'm going to hear your version of the events, sir. What were you arrested for?
Driving with a suspended license.
So I gather you took the car keys and went home.
I stayed in the bar till 2 o'clock in the morning till they had last call. They did not come back. He had left his keys on there. He did not tell me he was going. They both just left. So how am I supposed to get home? I took the keys and I drove home. Then I went home. There was a cop already there. They had my name on a piece of paper like someone had called the cops on me already. So I went there. He asked to see my driver's license. I showed him my driver's license, and he took me to jail.
Then you called him.
Yes, I called him.
And what did you say when you
I
called him?
said, well, what happened yesterday? He goes, oh, I left you the car. He said, I didn't come back yesterday. He said, why, where are you? I said, I'm in jail. He goes, oh, don't worry, I'll get you out. He said, don't worry about it. Trust me, I'll get you out. I don't have the money to pay him back. I didn't ask him to bail me out. If he bailed me out, it's because he felt sorry for leaving me with the car. He knew I couldn't drive with a suspended license. I didn't want to drive.
Why was your license suspended?
Not paying a ticket. And I got pulled over before, and he gave me a ticket for driving with a suspended license. And he said, next time you will go to jail. So I didn't want to drive.
Where do you live?
I live in Orlando.
And is that where the karaoke bar was?
Yes.
Now, Orlando, Florida is a major metropolis. I've been to Orlando, Florida. Do you know what they have in Orlando, Florida?
Disney World? I don't know.
Do you know what else they have in Orlando? Taxi cabs.
Your Honor, I had no money.
Your Honor, I left him with money. I left him set.
Just a second.
All right.
Yeah, by the time the bar was closed, I was broke.
Mr. Reyes, that's what you call lack of planning, sir. Because if you were waiting for him and he didn't come back and he left after 20 minutes, something should have gone on in your head that said to you, maybe I am stranded here, so I better take the $20 that he gave me and put a couple of dollars away so that you could call a taxi cab to take you home, since you didn't have a driver's license.
I understand what you're saying, Your Honor, but he left me an ATM card. Taxi cabs do not take ATM cards.
And $20.
He had an open tab on the bar. When it was closed with $20 I had spent drinking.
What happened as a result of that case, Mr. Reyes?
They gave me day served.
And a fine?
Yes.
How much was the fine?
The fine was $500.
Did you pay the $500?
Yeah,
It
took it
got
out of his
taken
bail.
out of my bond.
They took it out of his bail?
Yeah.
Oh. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $560. Mr. Reyes, you have to take responsibility for what you do, sir. You had a lot of choices. You picked all the wrong ones. That's all.
Okay.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He just wanted the money right away, and I couldn't give it to him.
Been given the runaround.
Maybe he called the cops. I don't know. I don't know what the whole deal was.
I gave him my car. I gave him money. And that's the story.
Case number 2039, Mormon versus Strauss. All parties, please step forward.
Derek Mormon is suing his former friend, Sherry Strauss, for car repairs and harassment.
Mr. Mormon, the defendant was a friend of yours.
Yes, ma'am.
A casual friend, a romantic friend?
Maybe both, a casual romantic friend.
How long do you know her?
14 years at least, probably closer to 15, yeah.
Were you ever together as a couple?
No, ma'am.
And it is your claim that because she was in financial trouble, you extended a loan to her to fix her car.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what this case is about. You also say she harassed you, but most of this case is about the loans to fix her car. Ms. Strauss says that you did, in fact, work on her car, but you caused more damage to it than it originally had, and she is counterclaiming for car repairs that she has to make because of work that you did on the car. Who is this person?
My fiance.
Okay, he's not a mechanic.
No.
And who is the woman?
She is the property manager of the motel that I'm living in.
So you don't have a mechanic to testify today to anything?
No, I do have...
The answer is no.
No, but I do have an estimate.
I don't care about an estimate. Okay, so I would like you to tell me, Ms. Strauss, when did you start to have trouble with your car?
March 2nd of 2022.
And where were you living at the time?
I had just moved into the motel.
Had you been spending any time with Mr. Mormon?
Previous to that, no.
Previous to March of 2022?
That's correct.
After March of 2022, did you spend any time with Mr. Mormon?
I did, yes.
Did you stay at his home?
I went there occasionally, yes.
No, but I'm asking, did you stay over at his home?
Yes.
Okay. And when you started to have trouble with the car in March, when you hadn't been staying at Mr. Mormon's house, did you call him and let him know you were having trouble with your car?
I did as a friend, yes.
And what did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
I just told him I dropped my son off at his taekwondo, and we were trying to leave, and my car was not working.
And what did he say to you?
That he will come and help me.
And help you?
Yeah.
That was on March 2nd?
That was on March 2nd, yes.
And did he come to the motel where you were staying?
No, he did not.
Well, how did he come and help you with the car?
Because my car was at my son's taekwondo, so he went there.
He came to where you were? And did he take your car someplace?
Not on that day, no.
What did he do on that day?
On that day, he took me and my son home.
So that was March 2nd. Keep going. March 2nd, March 3rd.
And then on March 3rd, we ended up having my car taken over to O'Reilly's. Well, we got a battery.
How much was it?
It was $167.
Who paid for it?
I did.
So then you were driving it again? It's not,
yes. Correct.
Okay. And when was the next time there was difficulty with the car?
Then the next time was March 7th. It died again.
So on March 7th, the car died again? And what did you do?
Then on March 7th, I called him and told him that something's wrong with my car again. Now it's not starting again.
Okay. And tell me why you called him.
Because as a good friend, like I said, we've been friends for 15 years. As it is, I don't ask anybody for help. I usually try to do everything on my own. But,
okay, so you called him and said the car died again?
Yep, but he had made it known that he was knowledgeable about cars, so I figured that maybe he would know what was going on.
You know who else is knowledgeable? Mechanics. You want to tell me what the additional harassment is?
He showed up at my motel threatening.
What did he want?
When I had talked to him before, when he thought that David and I was not together anymore, he said, oh, it's not about the money. He goes, I just want you.
Derek Mormon says his former friend Sherry Strauss owes for car repairs. Sherry is countersuing, claiming Derek damaged her car, trying to fix it.
Okay, so on the 7th, you called him again and said, I'm having trouble. What did he do?
Then on the 7th, I had to go to work, so I had another friend take me to work. He came and picked me up from work, and we took my car back over to O'Reilly's, took the battery out, had them test it. The battery had been drained. Figured it was the alternator, got the alternator. He put the alternator in.
Who paid for all of these repairs? That's what it's about.
I paid for them.
So what is he suing for?
Because later on, my brakes and rotors went out and I got a flat tire. So at that time, yes, I did call him and let him know.
On what date was that?
That was on April 16th of 2022.
Okay. Well, right now it's gone on the fritz on the 2nd, the 7th, and April 16th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of aggravation. So on April 16th fiasco with the car and the repairs, how much was that?
$234.
Who paid for that?
He said that he would pay for it. He originally told me that his mechanic would allow me to make payments. And when we went to go pick it up on April 22nd, found out that that was not the case.
Okay, so he wasn't going to allow you to make payments,
No.
which mechanics usually don't. So how much was the bill?
So the bill was $567.91.
And he paid for that because they wouldn't let you make payments?
He paid for that because he knew I was...
No, not he knew. You were originally going to pay for that and make payments.
Yeah, I was going
Just
to
a
make
second.
payments.
You were originally going to pay for it and make payments.
Mhm.
You found out that you couldn't make payments, so he said, fine, I will make the full payment to the mechanic.
Yeah.
But it was always your intention to pay for the repairs of the car, only you wanted to pay for it in a slower fashion.
Right, I was going to make the payments to the mechanic, yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, did you pay him back any of the $567?
I gave him $300 to help him with rent, but
Just a second. Tell me when you gave him $300 for rent.
I gave him the $300 on April 29th.
That was after you picked up the car.
Mm-hmm.
Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she give you $300 for rent?
No, Your Honor, I don't need anybody to help me pay my rent.
Do you have any proof that you gave him $300 for rent, a withdrawal from a bank, or anything?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Okay, so far you owe $567. Is that what you paid for her in April?
No, Your Honor, I paid $674.76.
May I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, April 18th. $674. Would you show this to Ms. Strauss? Okay. Mr. Mormon?
Yes, Your Honor.
There subsequently came a time, which I think probably was a more social issue than anything else, when the defendant advised...
I have a different one that shows
May I
the receipt right there.
May I see it?
The $567.91.
Well, I actually am not understanding this. He paid for this with his Visa card.
Mhm.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Could you explain this to me? This is your Visa card. This is the same invoice. One of them is for $567.91, and the one that you gave me, the same invoice number, is $674.76. Sarah, would you do me a favor, please?
Sure.
Would you add up?
From both or just the top one?
Well, let's start with just the top one, for which there is a Visa receipt. So I gather that all this became problematic when you started to see a serious boyfriend. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, after March, you said you stayed occasionally at Mr. Mormon's. When you stayed at Mr. Mormon's, was that more of a social? I mean, was it a more intimate relationship than just social friends? This was after March, after you were in the motel.
We're kind of like friends with, benefits in a way, so
Okay.
yeah.
All right, and then you found someone new, and according to him, you advised him that you had somebody new,
Mhm.
and now he wants the money for the car. which you were going to pay anyway. You were going to
Originally,
pay
I
it.
figured it was a friend helping a friend. I didn't
No,
think of
it
it as
wasn't.
a loan.
No. It wasn't. Even you say, Ms. Strauss, it was your intention to pay this bill for your car as you would pay the other bills for your car. However, when you got there, you found you couldn't make time payments. So he said, well, you need a car. I'll lay it out up front. But it was always your intention to pay for your own car. Do we have a...
That is the correct number. And then at the bottom, that totals. And then the additional to bring you to 567 is the tax.
Okay. Now, so the next part of your case is about harassment. By whom and for what?
Your Honor, after Mr. Martinez got into the picture.
That's this gentleman.
Yes, ma'am. He was a man of his word, and he was going to pay me not to talk to Sherry any longer, which I didn't.
Okay, so you had a discussion with him that all of her bills he was going to take care of?
Many discussions, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And?
I never got a dime.
Okay, well, what is the harassment?
Text messages, my witness here, Ms. Montoya.
No, just a second. Okay. Text messages what?
Just saying, hey, leave her alone, which is fine.
Okay, that's all right. That's not harassment.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, fine.
But it was, hey, I'm going to pay you. I'm a man of my word.
Okay, well, that you're not
Where's my
suing him,
money?
so who cares about that?
Yeah.
She owes you $567. That's what you put on your visa. Now, let's get to your money owed for car repairs and harassment. Okay. Now, you don't have a mechanic here, so what your claim is that whatever he did to the car, he didn't do well, so you had to take the car, or you're going to have to take the car to another mechanic. I don't care. You would plan to fix this car yourself. The problem was with payments. If you had to make additional repairs to the car, that's not his problem. Okay, now you want to tell me what the additional harassment is?
Well, that's why I have my two witnesses here. He spent a lot of time calling me names. He's called my fiance names. He showed up at my motel threatening and stuff like that. So
What did he want?
he wanted his money, but at one point in time-
Now he's got it. I don't need to speak to you.
No, but
Now he's got his money.
When I had talked to him before, when he thought that David and I was not together anymore, he said, oh, it's not about the money. He goes, I just want you. He's got several messages from me, how he loves me, he wants to be with me, and all this and that.
Yeah, but you don't love him and you don't want to be with him, so now you have to pay him for your car repairs, $567.
Yeah.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
Hey, justice was served, and that's all that matters.
It was about because he didn't have me. I went with somebody else, and I wasn't with him.
She was a friend, and I tried to help her out.
We've been friends for a long time, so I told him we would be, that I wanted to be his friend.
I ain't going to help, I can tell you that.
I want to continue the friendship, and he didn't want that.
No, never again on her, no.
Time to find another mechanic.
So I really didn't have so much trouble with that case because the defendant had really planned on paying for her car repairs. Do I think that the guy said to her, you can make payments, and when she got there, he said, no, who knows? It's not worth it.
Yeah.
He felt used.
Which I think is valid.
Which, give somebody money, and then you've had sort of a friends with benefits relationship, and all of a sudden you got somebody new, and you're driving around in a car that you paid to repair. Anyway, it was simple and easy.
It was. They're not all that easy.
Ellen Henderson is suing her ex-roommate, Tara Williams, for breaking a lease and filing a false restraining order.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2023, Henderson versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Henderson, you and your kids and Miss Williams and her kids decided to rent a house together.
Yes.
And when was that initially?
We moved in January 21st of 2021.
How large a house was it?
5-bedroom.
And who moved in with you?
Me, my 2 children, Tara, her 3 children, and...
The third roommate?
Yes.
What was your share of the rent?
The share of the rent.
Yours?
$14.95.
And yours?
We paid, me and her split it, and then took cash from...
The third roommate?
Yes, so $14.95 too.
And you lived there for a year. What I gather is sort of towards the end of the year, things were getting a little testy between the two of you, either because of you or because of the kids. You had children, and things weren't working out, so that both of you were not real happy with each other. That be a fair statement?
Yes. It started earlier in 2021.
I'm sure, but at the time that the lease was up, you both weren't really happy with each other. And according to your complaint, she left, you were stuck paying the rent, and she had signed a renewal of the lease, and you want her to pay her portion of the rent until you found a new roommate, which you actually found a new roommate several months later. The defendant says she told you that she was contemplating living with you for another year, that her speculation that you went into her room and took a signed copy of the lease and gave it to the rental agent or whoever it was.
It would have been in the kitchen in my area where my papers were.
Whatever. Yeah. And it was never her intention to sign a second lease. Your lease was up in January of 2022.
Yes.
The defendant was away for a period of time. When was the defendant away? Just prior to January of 2022.
She went to Hawaii for a week.
When?
I think she left on January 8th, give or take a day, I don't remember.
And did you return the signed copies of the lease to the landlord?
No, they were turned in December.
By both of you?
For the lease renewal, all three of us re-signed in December. And I have a copy of that.
What I'm asking you is, were they turned in, because that's very easy to verify, were they all turned in before she went to Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay. I'll see what you have. Well, Miss Williams, if it's your statement that she took your signed copy of the lease and turned it in without your permission at some point when you were in Hawaii, that's what you're alleging. If this doesn't bear that out, Miss Williams, I'm going to tell you it doesn't lend itself to the truth of that statement, because this indicates that the two of you and the third roommate signed this on December the 19th. Then you turned it in. Then it was turned in. That was before you went to Hawaii. The landlord signed it on December 20th, which means that if the landlord signed it on December 20th, he signed it before you went to Hawaii, which means she couldn't have stolen your copy of the lease.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah, no, I'm not stating I was in Hawaii when she turned it in. I left for Hawaii January 8th through the 18th.
I understand that.
Okay. I was unaware.
When our lease was up for renewal, we weren't getting along, and I was on the fence about spending another year with Ellen. In December, we received a copy of the lease renewal. I felt pressured into signing it, but then we told Ellen we needed more time, just you. I had to leave town. Well, I don't know, you don't have any witness here because you say I had to leave town, so I decided to hold on to the lease until I returned. Where did you go?
I went to Hawaii.
Well, that was in January.
Yes.
Well, but the landlord got a copy of the signed agreement December 20th.
I didn't know it was turned in.
Oh, well,
receiving
I
emails.
don't know whether it was turned in or not.
So I emailed Rentcon, and I have messages stating it was received from Ellen.
Okay. I'll see what you have.
Okay.
No. This doesn't say that at all. Lease renewal was signed by all three tenants. Correct. Lease was signed by all three tenants, and it was received before you went to Hawaii on the 20th of December. Okay. Easy. You moved out in February?
January 31st of 22.
When was the first lease up?
The 22nd of January 22.
So you stayed on after the lease was up?
Yes.
Why?
I wasn't completely moved out yet. I was in Hawaii. I had reached out to Rincon about paying extra to pay the extra few days.
No. Okay. And when did you get a new roommate? Did you keep blowing her off, or did you answer her?
No, I
No, just a second.
I did not.
Did you blow her off, or did you answer? So the answer is you blew her off. You blew her off.
Yes.
About the rent, which she was stuck with.
Right.
Right. Okay, good.
Ellen Henderson claims her ex-roommate, Tara Williams, broke their lease and filed a false restraining order against her. Tara is countersuing for a security deposit, utilities, and damaged property.
Okay. When did you get a new roommate?
She moved in April 18th.
Did she pay January's rent?
Yes.
So you're talking about February and March.
February, March, and then prorated April.
Well, February and March, $14.95, $29.90. Okay. The next part of your case involves filing for a false restraining order. Did you file a restraining order, Miss Williams, against Miss Henderson? Yes. I'd like to see what it says. No, don't give me that whole thing. your application for a restraining order. I'd like to see what your application for... Don't hand them that whole thing. I said I'd like to see what your application for a restraining order said. Okay, so what you say is she sent you 3 letters. You're asking because she sent you 3 letters. They were annoying. I want to know what she was asking for in those letters. Was she asking for rent money? Was she asking for rent?
Yes.
Okay, so she was asking for her money.
Yes.
For your rent money for the months that she didn't have a roommate. Well, that's not harassment, madam.
There's more, but...
What?
There's more. She's telling me that I stole some of her stuff and stuff. In the first letter, it says, if you don't pay this in 5 days, we'll take...
Yeah, she's allowed to say that. Okay.
Yeah, which
so
is
she wrote
totally
to you.
fine, but she sent it 2 more times, emailed it, and then showed up at my children's school while I was dropping them off.
Did you keep blowing her off, or did you answer her?
No, I
didn't. No, just a second.
I did not.
Did you blow her off, or did you answer? So the answer is you blew her off.
Yes, I was fine with going to court.
You blew her off.
Yes.
About the rent, which she was stuck with.
Right.
Right. Okay, good. $29.90 is what she owes you for rent. Now, part of your counterclaim for get money for damages, you get security deposit. How much was her security deposit?
We paid equally between me and her.
No, how much did she pay?
It was half of...
How much was your security deposit?
$1,747.50.
1,747. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And where is her security deposit?
In our lease, it states that if you break the lease, the deposit stays with the house. And I have an email from the property management stating that same thing, that she signed a lease saying that if she leaves early, the money stays with the house until everyone moves out.
So the security deposit, if you and your new roommate keep the house safe, you're going to get back.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't allege any damage. Is that correct?
I had to clean up the carpets in her room upstairs. And
Okay, do you have an invoice for that?
No, I did it myself.
Okay. 2990 less 1747?
$1,243.
So far she owes you $1,243. That's less the security deposit, which you and your hopefully neat roommate will get back.
May I say something about the payments for rent? So it was me and her doing equal rent at $1,795.25. So that's what I paid. Me and her paid that in January, and I paid the entire amount in February, March.
I understand she was no longer paying rent. You're getting the rent, but I'm deducting from that.
My portion is $1,795, and that's what I'm asking her for, because that's what her portion was when she moved out as well.
Just a second. Am I correct that she, at the time you moved in, individually paid as a security deposit $1,747? Is that correct?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the rent payments. It's not $1,495, it's $1,795.
Was your rent each month $1,495 or $1,795?
$1,495.
Can I see it? Anybody have any proof of that?
I printed out the log, but she paid us $300 each in cash. So there's no, she is on the lease, but it does not show she was paying cash.
You mean the third roommate?
Yes.
The third roommate?
Right.
So your amount was $1,495?
Correct.
I got it.
Up until the end of December.
Okay, I'm finished. Now, the next part of your counterclaim is for utilities. Security deposit you get back. What utilities do you think she owes you?
She did not pay me November, December, January, or February closing for utilities.
Did you pay them?
I paid them.
I'd like to see where you paid them. No, don't give me a whole bunch of papers. I don't want to see a whole bunch of papers that I have to go through. I want to see what utilities there were, when you sent her a statement of what the utilities were.
Yes.
I assume it worked that she paid you a portion of the utilities.
Yes, it was
What
split.
portion of the utilities did you pay?
We split it equally the whole time we were there.
Okay, so whatever utility bills that were paid by her, you were supposed to pay half.
Correct. Which
did you?
My last payment to her was December 4th for Spectrum Water, Trash, and Gas.
That was 12/4. How much did you pay her?
$364.61.
Okay, just a second. Did she pay you $364 in December?
She did for prior months.
So that was for November. That covered November. If it was paid in December, that covered November.
It would have been more so October.
I can't get involved with that, madam. Don't give him a whole bunch of papers. Don't give him a whole bunch of papers. December and January statement for utilities. You were gone in February.
Yes.
December and January bills for utilities. Did you pay those?
I did not, because she left me with all the rent.
I understand that, but now you're getting your rent. Now we're going to settle up on the utilities.
And I didn't include it in the lawsuit, but she still owes me for trash. And I have a list of stuff that she took of mine that I did write
I'm not interested in it, Miss Henderson. It didn't work out. You should be very happy. She's gone. You didn't like her.
She overcharged me utilities with her business expenses.
Okay.
Every month we lived there.
Did you come in contact with her on the 25th of May in a pedestrian car incident?
Not that I recall.
About 1 minute to 8 in the morning. Who drives a white minivan?
Me.
Ellen Henderson has accused her ex-roommate, Tara Williams, of breaking their lease. Tara claims she filed the restraining order because Ellen was stalking her.
Miss Henderson, it didn't work out. You should be very happy. She's gone. You didn't like her.
She overcharged me utilities with her business expenses.
Okay.
Every month we lived there.
We have a bill for December and January. If there's anything here that's not December and January, I'm dismissing that part of your claim. And I already have a bill that's dated April of 2022.
Right, that was for January and February water.
That's $390. Billing date 4/14. No.
It was.
No. I want you, because I'm losing my patience slowly. Please read out the bills, the total bills for December and January only. Sarah, get ready.
Can it go till February 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, while she's looking for that, did you go to her kid's school?
I served her a letter of default and a cease and desist letter in the parking lot of her school, kids' school.
Mm-hmm.
Because she didn't pick up a letter from the mailbox. She knew it was coming from me. And I had to go back to the mailbox and get it after a month.
Okay.
And I didn't know where she lived. I didn't know how else to reach her.
Okay. Did you come in contact with her on the 25th of May in a pedestrian car incident?
Not that I recall.
About 1 minute to 8 in the morning. Who drives a white minivan?
Me. What was the date?
May 25th.
Oh, yeah, that was her kid's school. That was her kid's school when I delivered the letter.
Well, that's why she filed for protective order against you. Not unreasonable. It was dismissed after a hearing, or it was just dismissed?
It was dismissed after a hearing.
Yeah. Part of your claim for filing a false restraining order is dismissed. I could actually see why you would get frightened if somebody went to your kid's school to serve you papers. Okay, what are the bills for utilities?
Can I just say something?
Sure.
I had to give her those letters in order to file for small claims.
Okay.
I had tried to mail it, and she didn't go to the post office.
I got it. Could we have the utilities? Which utility and what is it? You should have all this together for me and not make it difficult. Okay. This is why you were coming. Don't read out the numbers, what the utility is for what month and the amount.
So water, $257.94. Water for February was $132.09. For 12/03 bill date for electricity was $167.
What date?
12/20.
That's December.
Yes,
but that was for November.
I thought we were doing December, January.
For December, but you wouldn't have gotten December's bill in December. You would have gotten it in January.
It was prepared 12/03.
Right, but that's dealt with November. It was prepared 12/03. They're not prorated. Come on, let's go.
Okay, 2/04. This was prepared for electricity, $74.72.
Okay.
This one was for the date that I ended of 1/28 to 2/01. It was $12.78 for Edison electricity.
Let's move on.
And then this is gas for 12/29 to 1/27. It was $37.04. And then the ending charges was $5.72.
Got it? Yes. $5.72. I can't believe it. Okay, would you add those up?
Yeah.
And your arrangement with her, Miss Henderson, was that you each paid half of the utilities. Is that right?
Yeah. Can I say something about that too? Back in April or May of 2021, I went to her to speak and ask about me paying less for water, gas, and electric because she brought all of her Airbnb laundry. She has a cleaning business. And our washers and dryers were going constantly.
And?
And she didn't meet me halfway, so I was stuck paying half.
Fine.
I have the total whenever you're ready. 507.51.
Divide it by 2.
$254.
1243 less 254. 1243 is what she's owed now, less the security deposit. I love this case. Couldn't be more excited about it.
$989.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $989.
Your Honor,
They're
I had
finished.
two
Thank you
brothers
very much.
that
We're
were
done.
ruined.
Court is adjourned.
Thank you.
It's sad that I lost, but I put up a good fight.
I'm happy with the decision.
She didn't want to live with me, that there were issues. Why would you turn in a lease to renew for a whole nother entire year with someone?
It's been a lot of stress.
I wanted her to file suit so I could see her in court in order to take care of the matter.
I had nowhere to go, and I didn't think she was going to renew, to be honest.
0 roommates. Don't do it.
I mean, I went into it thinking that this was going to be a good situation. I really got along, and I loved her and her kids, and I don't know that I could have done anything different.
So the new phenomenon that I've seen over this past generation, for as long as I've been in this business, is because of the economy, people having to live together that are neither in love with each other or related to each other. And I actually think, Sarah, that's such a very hard thing to do. You know, this isn't the first case that we've had that involved adults and their kids having to, for financial reasons, move in with each other. I think I've always said, and I don't know how you feel about this, that I'd rather live in a shoebox alone than with strangers in more comfortable surroundings.
Sure. I think that's a tough call that a lot of people are having to make nowadays with the cost of living and inflation.
Young people.
Young people. 2 single mothers trying to live together with their children to give them a home environment. So it's a risk that you take when you don't know the other person. Even when you do know them, we see family members fighting all the time. So I think it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I don't know. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that people have to make those kinds of choices for happiness. Shouldn't create that kind of stress.
I think the best thing you can do is have a concrete contract to fall back on for if something like this happens, because it's a very stressful situation.
Yeah, but nobody wants to take that risk. Nobody wants to, who's signing a lease agreement, say, if it doesn't work out, this is what happens. Well, that's never between the tenant and the landlord. As between those two people, maybe it would be enforceable, but not between the two tenants and the landlord.
Landlord still gets his money.
Landlord gets his money. Stay with people who you love, or you have to love.
True.
Brian Martin is suing his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Hancock, and her ex-boyfriend, Derek Jones, for personal property.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2063, Martin versus Hancock Jones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Martin, how old are you, sir?
I'm 46.
Who was this with you?
This is my girlfriend, Kimberly.
Case is not unusual, but sad. Mr. Martin, you had a long history of drug addiction.
I did.
From when to when?
From 2002 until December 1st, 2020. I've been clean for 2 years on the 1st of December.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Did you manage to get clean by going into a residential facility?
I did, yes.
How long were you in a residential facility?
I was in 23 days in an inpatient facility, and I was just over a month in an outpatient facility.
Are you currently working?
I am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a production manager for a soap and bath bomb company.
How long have you been working for them?
A year yesterday.
Are you in touch with your folks?
I am.
Back in their good graces?
Yes, ma'am.
There was a time when that wasn't true.
Correct.
This is what I gather this case is about. Miss Hancock was your girlfriend.
Yes.
For how long?
We dated from November 2019 until April 2020. We separated for a few months and got back together in July 2020 and separated again in September 2020, so 7 months.
And it would be a fair statement, sir, that the reasons that you separated on both instances is because you relapsed into using drugs.
Yes.
And it would also be a fair statement that the first time you left the house at the defendant's request, you were unsuccessful permanently from ridding yourself of addiction, but you thought you were okay and you asked her to take you back.
Yes.
And she did.
Yes.
And you would have to acknowledge to me that made her, A, a forgiving person,
Very.
and someone who cared about you.
Yes.
I say all that to you because it's not my job today to exacerbate what appears to be a strained situation, which I assume from your papers has resulted in a final protective order in favor of Miss Hancock, keeping you away from her for how many years?
Permanently.
Forever.
Yes.
And that was after a criminal case was resolved, and that was a criminal stalking case.
Yes.
That was resolved, and it was resolved in her favor probably, and I don't know this for certain, probably with a plea from you.
Yes.
And when you enter a plea, the judge always asks you, you understand your right to have a trial, you have a right to examine witnesses, you have a right to call witnesses, and by making this admission, it is the same thing as a guilty verdict.
Correct.
Judge did tell you that.
Yes.
I assume. I mean, I remember making those statements many, many times. A long, long time ago. I'm surprised I still remember any of it. And you're supposed to remain away from her.
Yes.
So the first question I have, well, I know why you're here. You're here because you say the last time she threw you out, and she threw you out not only because she found drugs that you were using again, but she had a fear that you were selling drugs out of the house, and she couldn't be involved with that, which is perfectly legitimate. You would have to acknowledge that.
Absolutely.
You'd also acknowledge, and I'm reading these papers sort of between the lines, your complaint, her answer, and the countersuit, that Miss Hancock had a child.
Yes.
A son.
Yes.
How old? When you were
15
living?
at the time.
And uber impressionable age, and the fact that you were abusing drugs in the house, it really exposed him to something that a teenager shouldn't be exposed to because his mother has feelings for that person who's drug addicted.
Yes.
And I assume you had warm feelings at some point for this 15-year-old.
Absolutely.
At the time, your parents had asked you to leave the house.
I was living with my parents at the time. Jennifer asked me to move into the house because Mr. Jones had placed a GPS tracker on her car, and she was concerned about her safety with him.
So you were dating at the time?
Yes, I was living with my parents before I moved in, yes.
Okay. Was that a happy situation?
At the time it was, yes. It didn't get difficult to
Moved away from that. And when you moved in with Miss Hancock, according to you, you were not paying rent.
Correct.
You were, in fact, working.
I was.
And according to you, you were working, not paying rent, and buying certain things for the house in lieu of rent. That's what you say in your papers.
Yes, I bought things for the house. Yes.
Those were exactly the words that you swore to. You said, I also spent over $10,000 on things for her place.
Correct.
In lieu of paying to live there.
Correct.
What things did you buy?
I bought a dryer.
Dryer?
I put $1,200 into her son's Ford, fixing it. I bought...
Okay, so you paid for some things for her son. What else did you buy for the house?
We went to Costco several times and spent $1,000.
Okay, so you
towels.
went, just a second. Yeah. I'm not interested in Costco several times. Yeah. You know, you do use toilet paper, don't you?
Absolutely.
What else did you buy for the household?
I bought a battery for a Ford car. I bought a Keurig. I bought a rug, towels. I paid for the vacations while we were together. I bought some home lights for the outside.
Come on. Keep going. What else did you buy?
What
else did you buy for the house? So far, we're not close to $10,000.
That's all.
Well, you swore to the fact that you spent $10,000, that you bought things for the house in lieu of rent. So far, you've given me maybe $2,500.
Okay.
And that includes a couple of trips to Costco. So I want to know, what else did you buy for the house? Did you buy televisions for the house?
I bought televisions.
Just a second. How many televisions did you buy?
I bought two.
And how much were they?
One was $1,700, the other one was $500.
What else did you buy for the house?
Those are the only items I remember buying for the house.
Great. Now, what items do you claim that, because that's what this is about so far, what items do you claim that Miss Hancock kept that belonged to you when she told you to leave the second time?
I have text messages saying...
No, don't tell me text. I don't want to hear text messages. I want to hear what items you claim are your property that she kept when she told you to leave the second time. That requires things: a fishbowl, a guppy, a pair of shoes, a tie. And if you say any of those things, I'm going to throw you out of here because I don't waste my time over guppies.
Yeah.
So tell me what you are alleging that she kept.
2 TVs.
Okay.
An entertainment center.
Just a second. You didn't tell me an entertainment. You told me you bought 2 TVs, $1,700 and $500. That would fit into the $10,000 of what you spent in the house. Entertainment center. What did you pay for the entertainment center?
Originally, I paid $1,200.
What else?
I'm also asking for the return of a rehab center that she was kicked me out of, $2,500.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. Keep going.
Okay. And then 47 Nintendo 64 games.
47 what?
Nintendo 64 games.
So, Mr. Martin, because I'm going to make short shrift of this case, as you can see right now, and your girlfriend looks like a nice lady. I don't know why you're here. You seem to have problems with boyfriends. Yeah, I got to start picking them better.
I do.
This one put a tracker on you. This one, you have a protective order permanently. You have to figure these things out before ultimately you get very hurt.
Brian Martin claims his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Hancock, and her ex-boyfriend, Derek Jones, owe for personal property. Jennifer and Derek are countersuing for harassment.
Okay, so far, all the things that you told me that you bought for the house barely add up to the $10,000 that you swore that you purchased for things for the house in lieu of paying rent. Do you understand?
I do. If I may also add, when we were separated the first time, I sold my marital home for $47,000. I cashed it at my bank and I put it into an account with her that I was an authorized user on. I did not get that money back because she removed my name from the account. So that money also went to purchase things while we were together that were for the house. I don't remember specifically what we bought. It was close to $20,000 that wasn't returned.
But Mr. Martin, I can understand that. But you know, this is a court.
Okay.
This is not a guessing game. This is not a game show. If you're saying that because of whatever reason you put your money into an account that she had access to and you spent money together on the house from that account, I can't help you with that.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I do.
I mean, it was a time that was a fog. Did Miss Hancock and or Mr. Jones ever return any property to you or to your parents' house?
They did on November 20th.
That was in 2021?
Yes.
What month in 2021 did they return things to your parents' house?
It was November 20th to the 21st during the night.
Were you present?
I was not. I did not live there.
So I would assume that you found out that that property was delivered to your parents' house from either Miss Hancock or your parents.
My parents.
And your parents aren't here today.
They are not.
Your girlfriend was not there when they were delivered.
I have signed affidavits from them.
From whom?
From my parents about the property.
Are your parents in any way disabled, or are either one of them in the military?
No, my father was in the military, no longer.
Well, that's the only reason you don't come in person to court if you're disabled, and I might accept an affidavit, or if you're unable to come to court by virtue of the fact that you're in the military. None of those things apply here, so I'm not taking any information that you have in an affidavit. Suffice it to say that they did, over a 2-day period, return a lot of property to your parents' house.
Yes.
And that, based upon my rough guesstimates, because you can't help me out anymore with that you swore in your complaint, Mr. Martin, that you spent in lieu of rent $10,000
yes.
in the home.
Yes.
And that was specifically because you weren't paying any of the household expenses. Yes. And all of the things that you added up to me, I don't know what 47 video games are, but I assumed that the 15-year-old played them more than you did. She says they were gifted to him. I don't know whether they were or they weren't. Certainly, if you want them back. Do you still have any of the video games?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you want the video games, sir, or do you want to leave them where they are?
I would like them.
You would like them?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Hancock, I'm going to make this as easy as possible. I would like you, not the boyfriend, I would like you to pack up those video games. And do you live in the same town, area, whatever?
Close enough.
Is there a police precinct where you can drop them off?
Yes.
Do you know what precinct number that is?
I don't know the number, but I'm happy to drop them off at Bountiful City Police Department.
Got it?
Yep.
Within 5 days from today, package up the videos that you have.
No problem.
You know, if any of them are damaged, I don't want to hear from you. We're talking about a year ago, a 15-year-old has played with them, whatever. She's going to give you back your video, your 47 video games. Okay?
Okay.
Take a breath. You have to say it's over. Tell me about your new girlfriend. Are you living together?
We are, yeah. She's great. I love her.
She's great?
She's amazing.
And you're fine?
Yeah.
And you're working?
Mm-hmm.
You have to put a period to this.
Yes.
A real period.
I know.
Okay? Ms. Hancock, you and are you currently together, or is this an ex-boyfriend?
Ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend. Well, you seem to have problems with boyfriends. You got to start picking them better.
I do.
This one put a tracker on you. This one, you have a protective order permanently. You have to figure these things out before ultimately you get very hurt.
Absolutely.
Okay. I read not only your answer, and I've resolved Mr. Martin's claim. He is going to get all of his videos back. You know that Ms. Hancock and Mr. Jones have a cross-claim for harassment.
I do.
And that was not made part of the criminal case, any restitution.
No.
It was not. Did the district attorney request any restitution?
No.
Why not?
I was actually not involved. It was a criminal case, not a civil.
Well, you were the complainant in the criminal case.
The state of Utah is the one who filed it.
But you were the complainant. They may have filed it.
It actually says right here, state of Utah is the plaintiff.
Of course.
So,
I know that
I did contact the police and ask them to
So
do that.
you
Yes.
were the complainant.
Okay, yes.
You know, it's the state of New York versus John Jones. It's the state of Utah versus John Jones, but there has to be a complainant.
Yes.
Somebody who was robbed, somebody who was the victim of stalking, somebody who was the victim of an assault. That's the complainant. That's who you were.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Did you ever ask the district attorney for compensation for lost wages or anything else that you suffered as a result of this stalking?
No, I was not aware I could actually do that.
Okay, well, that's not something that I consider, but there is part of your counterclaim that is particularly troubling to me. And it is your claim on the counterclaim that Mr. Martin, at some point, photoshopped pornographic pictures of you.
Yes.
And disseminated them.
Yes.
When did that happen?
It was left on Derek's car. And I'm not sure when, because Derek found it and didn't tell me about it for a while because he was upset and he didn't want to upset me about it.
When did you find it, Mr. Jones?
That would have been after this first bogus stalking injunction he filed and lost.
Bogus?
He filed a fraudulent stalking injunction. He filed
Stalking?
Against me.
So it was after that?
Mm-hmm.
And that was May of 2021? I'm trying to tell Mr. Martin, and I don't know how to make it any more clear to him, that his path going forward has to be putting a period, that in this whole scenario, you were the culprit.
I did not do what they're claiming right there. Absolutely, 100%. I did not.
You did not?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Let us assume, Mr. Jones, that you found on your car a pornographic picture that had been photoshopped with Miss Hancock's face and someone else's body. I'm assuming for a moment that that's true. Not that I have to look at it. I assume for the moment that's true. What proof do you have that Mr. Martin put that on your car?
Well, the problem is I don't have any proof of that, but he had put other signs up. I have a police report. He was hanging signs on my property. He got arrested for doing that and tased.
Okay.
I mean...
What I'm asking you specifically, that's what I'm particularly concerned about.
We couldn't prove it was him.
Hmm?
We couldn't prove it was him.
Okay, fine. Do you have a new boyfriend?
No, I do not.
In what month was the protective order made final?
May of 2022.
Other than this experience, what happened?
Oh, there's a fly.
There's a fly. Oh, Mr. Jones, I'm expert at flies. It's not coming. You have an attitude, and you're not a baby. I mean, it's not as if you're 21 years old anymore. And if you have that within you, to have bad behavior against another person, that's there. Either you have it or you don't.
Brian Martin has accused his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Hancock, and her ex-boyfriend, Derek Jones, of keeping his personal property. Jennifer and Derek are countersuing, claiming Brian was harassing them.
Okay. Other than today's appearance, since that was issued in May of 2022, have you had any other contact with Mr. Martin?
No.
Have you?
Yes.
Tell me when.
5/7/2021, we called the police.
No. Pay careful attention to my question, Mr. Jones. Between May of 2022 and today, have you had any contact with Mr. Martin?
Just his files, his claims. He keeps filing protective orders against me.
When was the last time he filed a protective order against you?
Well, he tried filing one a week before this, and I have that.
A week before what?
Before this case.
Okay.
And I have that police report. They told him no.
Okay. So they didn't allow him to file it?
That one. But he's filed several others.
I'm talking about between May...
Nope, that's the last one.
That was the last one. I'd like to see it, please, Kevin. Mr. Jones, do you have a protective order in your favor?
I've tried.
Not tried.
No, I don't.
You do not? Okay.
Your Honor, I have a video of catching him stalking my house, hanging signs. We submitted that. We also have the police report that he was arrested that day and tased.
And tased?
Yep. I have that report right here as well.
I'd like to see it. Mr. Jones, I'm going to go back to just May of 2020. Since May of 2020, have you had any contact with him? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
When?
He's submitted letters to my family. He has emailed me.
I'd like to see the letters he submitted to your family.
These are some. He said, oh, there's more. These were cease and desist
Just
letters.
1 second. Just 1 second. What's this?
Mr. Jones texted me a text that says tweaker, and that's who I...
Just a second. Dear Miss Jones, who did you send this to?
I'm not aware of the letter. May I see it?
He took it to my rental.
What are you giving me?
These are letters he submitted to my houses or my rentals when he was trying to find me.
Just a second.
This was in relation. Mr. Jones had a temporary stalking injunction in place against him on February 7th, 2021. On May 5th, 2021, he was served that stalking injunction, and that is when the incident with the Bountiful Police took place that you're reading right now. Mm-hmm. He showed up to where I was getting my oil change. In addition to that, he has sent Facebook messages to my girlfriend that she's here to testify on.
I'm going to tell you that you see how calm you are? Not him. You understand that? Not him. Probably not him, but definitely not him. And I'm going to just suggest to both of you that neither one of you want any other legal action. You already have a lifetime protective order issued against you in favor of Ms. Hancock. Yes. So I'm just telling you, I'd stay as far away from him, Mr. Martin, as I possibly could. Go a mile out of your way rather than go anywhere near where he is.
That's
fine.
That's what I'm doing
now.
Now,
Mr. Jones, you have, and I've been around here for a long time, these kinds of buildings for a long time, you have an attitude. I can tell you have an attitude. And things may have been bad historically, but you know your behavior wasn't perfect historically. You would agree with that with Ms. Hancock, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
You would agree with that. Okay. And you're not a baby. I mean, it's not as if you're 21 years old anymore. And if you have that within you to have bad behavior against another person, that's there. Either you have it or you don't. And what I'm suggesting to you is that this is not going to be a good outcome if this animus continues. She's not your girlfriend anymore. He's got a new girlfriend. You don't have anything to do with him anymore. Nothing. If you have to travel a mile out of your way to avoid going anywhere where he gets lunch, coffee, a Jiffy Lube, or anything else, I would suggest that you do it.
I've done that. He keeps filing protective orders.
Good. Well, he can do that. So can you. And what I'm suggesting is that it's not... Don't add fuel to this fire, madam. It's my job to try to temper it. If what you're going to do is to add fuel to this fire, then I think that it's really not a smart idea.
Just gonna, yeah.
The plaintiff will get his 47 videos back within 5 days. They will be dropped off at the local police precinct. What?
May I actually say there's only 21 that was ever given, so there's not 47.
How many do you have?
We have 19 of those games.
Okay, 19.
Yes.
You have any other property that belongs to him?
No.
No. Okay, we're done here. 19. 5 days. Police precinct.
This court is adjourned.
I'm disappointed because I've dealt with this man for over 2 years.
He's just jealous of my awesomeness.
I've moved on with my life, I have a new girlfriend, and I just want my things back.
Whatever, I just want him out of my life.
It's time to close the chapter. It's time to move on.
I never want to see him again. I never want to hear from him again.
People spend so much time with negative energy.
Oh, yes.
Sarah, if the one thing that you and all other single people out there can take away from this case is that women are supposed to be smart. And clearly, she had a nose for bad boys.
Yeah.
Because according to what we heard, the reason she invited him to come and live with her is because the...
Different problem with a different boyfriend.
Right, co-defendant, Mr. Jones, was really stalking her.
Mm-hmm.
And the same problem she had with the plaintiff. But stalking is an odd one. You have to be a little bit off to engage in stalking, to really terrorize somebody.
Especially to the level of legal action for stalking.
Yeah.
Because I know the standard for getting a restraining order, even a temporary one, is very high, the standard.
There has to be some pretty serious stuff that the judge reads. And he pled guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Jones also acknowledged that he had not treated her well. So it's always sad to me when perfectly reasonable women, sometimes because of their need to nest, will choose subpar mates.
I think it's more important to hold on to your own energy than to allow it to seep into these negative wells that will just run you dry.
नमस्ते दोस्तों, मेरा नाम है आरुष। आप देख रहे हैं हमारा नया चैनल ऑल मूवी क्लिप्स। तो गाइस, आज मैं आपके सामने एक और इंडियन बाइक श्रृंखला की वीडियो लेके आ चुका हूँ। तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं। तो आज की वीडियो में हम करने वाले हैं ये जितने भी 6 हैं हमारे मेगा रैंप, फन ट्रैक, जुरासिक पार्क, ज़ॉम्बी मोड, हॉरर मोड एंड सिटी V1, इन सबको हम करने वाले हैं एक्सप्लोर, क्योंकि अब बहुत सारे चैलेंज मोड ऐड हो गए हैं यार। तो लेट्स गो। सबसे शुरू करेंगे हम सबसे पुराने और सबसे पहले चैलेंज मोड में, जो कि है मेगा रैंप। लेट्स गो। इससे काफी टाइम से नहीं खेला है हमने, तो चेक करते हैं इसमें कुछ चेंजेस हुए हैं। यस, हमें नई गाड़ी मिली है, तो बड़े दिनों बाद करने जा रहे हैं हम इस चैलेंज को। तो लेट्स गो विदाउट वेस्टिंग एनी मोर टाइम। लेट्स गो। हम करेंगे इस चैलेंज को कंप्लीट, जो कि है बहुत ही इजी। यप, मेरे को तो बहुत ज्यादा टाइम हो गया है इस चैलेंज को खेले हुए। कोई ओपन ही नहीं करता था। सबसे पहले आए थे प्लग इन में RGS मोड, उसके बाद इतने सारे चैलेंज ऐड होने लगे और कैरेक्टर्स भी, तो सब इसको भूल गए थे। तो कोई ना, हम इस चैलेंज को करेंगे। और आज भी ये उतना ही हार्ड है जितना पहले था। इस पे गाड़ी स्टेबल नहीं रह पाती है। तो ये वन ऑफ द ओल्डेस्ट, फर्स्ट एंड बेस्ट रैंप चैलेंज था नहीं है। तो आप भी इसे खेला करिए और भूला ना करें ऐसी चीजों को। ये फर्स्ट होती है गेम में। यस, ये और मैं हार गया हूँ। मैं रैंप पे से गिर गया। कोई ना, ये आज भी उतना ही हार्ड है। हम वंस मोर ट्राई करते हैं, और इस बार मैं गाड़ी से नहीं करूंगा, मैं करूंगा इसे बाइक से। लेट्स गो। हम मंगाएंगे अपनी 5000 वाली बाइक। लेट्स गो। ये आ गई है हमारी 5000 से जो बाइक आती है। लेट्स गो। बूम। अब आएगा ना मजा बीड़ू। बाइक हो जाती है मेरे से अच्छे से कंट्रोल। गाड़ी में वो डुक 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 हिलते रहते हैं। इस वजह से मैंने जब भी इसमें रैंप को कराया, ज्यादातर मैंने कराया बाइक से। कार से मैंने बहुत कम किया है। ये काफी मस्त रैंप है यार, मजा आता है इसे खेलने में बहुत। ये जा रहे हैं, हम जा रहे हैं। लेट्स गो। बूम। ये हमने उड़ा दिया है। क्या हम जीतेंगे? क्या हम इस मेगा रैंप के एंड तक पहुंच पाएंगे? और ये हम पहुंच चुके हैं। गिरेगा हमारा कैरेक्टर, पक्का गिरेगा। ये बूम, गिर गया। एज ऑलवेज एक्सपेक्टेड ब्रो, इट्स क्रेजी। ये बॉय, ये है, और इसी बात पे जश्न मनाना तो बनता है ना। ये हम मेगा रैम जीत गए, ये जश्न मनाओ, ये भैया ये हैवी ड्राइवर इतना कितना ड्राइवर चौका रह गया। इसकी गाड़ी को फोड़ता हूँ, बूम 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 बूम, ये फूट रही है। दूर हो जाते हैं थोड़ा और एक स्टिकी बॉम्ब भी फेंक ही देते हैं। ये फूट गया और ये स्टिकी बॉम्ब अब भी बचा रह गया, तो इसे भी फोड़ देते हैं। यस, एक्टिवेट कर दिया। यस, वन मोर हैवी ड्राइवर। तो इन सबको हम करते हैं इग्नोर और हम चलते हैं नेक्स्ट चैलेंज मोड पे। हाँ, नेक्स्ट चैलेंज मोड है मेगा रैम के बाद है सेकंड ओल्डेस्ट चैलेंज मोड इज फन ट्रैक। यस, लेट्स गो। इसको भी मेरे को खेले हुए बहुत ज्यादा टाइम हो गया है, तो कोई ना, हमारी आ रही है ट्रेन, उसे ड्राइव करके ले जाएंगे हम और इन कंटेनर्स को फोड़ देंगे। यह है कल्याण जंक्शन, कल्याण जंक्शन। हाँ, आ रही है ट्रेन। कोई ना, यहाँ पे गड्डी चेयर मतलब गड्डी स्पॉन कर देते हैं, एक अच्छी सी 2020 से जो आती है वो स्पॉन कर देते हैं। यस, अब देखते हैं हमारी ट्रेन कैसे उड़ा पाएगी। मैं जल्दी से सेट कर देता हूँ, हमारा करेक्टर भी प्यूम प्यूम मर जाएगा। ये हो गई है सेट। अब जल्दी उतरते हैं और भागते हैं। मेरे को ना एक रिक्वेस्ट है इन गेम के क्रिएटरों से कि हमारा जो पहले करेक्टर गिरता था वो तो अब जल्दी उठना शुरू हो गया है, पर जब गाड़ियों में से उतरने का ऑप्शन आए तो उसे भी थोड़ा फास्ट कर दें, जिससे पुलिस एस्केप में थोड़ी आसानी हो। ये आ गई हमारी ट्रेन। यस, न्यू ट्रेन है ये। अरे ठोकेगी इसे, ये ठोकेगी, कुछ हुआ ही नहीं। कोई ना भाई, डरतेंगे क्या। अब हम चलाएंगे ट्रेन। ये बोई नहीं, गाड़ी में नहीं बैठना। हो गई ग्लिच हो गई ना, मैं उतर पा रहा। मैं ओके हो गया ग्लिच खत्म। यस हो गया भाई। पता नहीं आजकल कौन से ग्लिच होने लगे हैं। कोई ना, हम करते हैं अच्छे से ट्रेन ड्राइव। अरे भाई, गेट खोलता है नहीं, बैठ जाता है पहले। हॉर्न भी मार देते हैं। यस, हॉर्न। यप, चलो जल्दी चलते हैं। ये फूट रहे हैं हमारे बॉम्ब्स जो भी यहाँ पे डाले हुए हैं। यस, मजा आता है इस गेम को खेलने में। ये अभी सही है, मगर मेगा रैम से थोड़ा नीचे लेवल का है। बढ़िया है, ये भी पुराना है, इसे भी खेले हुए बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम हो गया है, जब से न्यू ट्रेन का अपडेट आया है तब से। और मैंने आपको रीज़न बताई दिया, RGS मोड, न्यू कैरेक्टर्स ऐड एंड मोर चैलेंजेस ऐड, तो इसे भी खेले हुए बहुत टाइम हो गया है। लेट्स गो, ये हमारी ट्रेन चल पड़ी है। तो गाइज, मैं आज का टाइम वेस्ट नहीं करूँगा, तो सीधे बढ़ते हैं हम नेक्स्ट चैलेंज मोड की तरफ। हमारा नेक्स्ट चैलेंज मोड है जुरासिक पार्क। उस टाइम पे जब ये आया था इसका बहुत खौफ था, क्योंकि डायनासोर्स की वजह से। अब हम जल्दी से एक कार स्पॉन करते हैं और निकलते हैं यहाँ से, वरना फिर डायनासोर हमारे पीछे पड़ जाएगा। चलो चलते हैं, लेट्स गो। उधर कौन है ये? ओ हाथी है उधर ब्रो। इसे एक बार ठोक देते हैं। अरे कुछ हुआ ही नहीं है, ये तो स्लाइड मारता हुआ निकल गया। कोई ना, छोड़ो। अब हम चलते हैं डिनासोर को ढूंढने। लेट्स गो। ठुके बच गए, नहीं ठुके। अबे यार, चलो अच्छे से ढूंढते हैं, डिनासोर मिलेगा हमें। यस, लेट्स गो। यस, जल्दी करते हैं। यस, कोई ना, हम जल्दी ढूंढते हैं। यहाँ पे तो कोई डिनासोर हमें मिल नहीं रहा है, अच्छे से ढूंढते हैं, क्या पता मिल जाए। ब्रेचियोसॉरस तो हमारे ऊपर अटैक करता है नहीं। टी-रेक्स, वेलोसिरैप्टर एंड स्पाइनो हमारे ऊपर अटैक करता है। वो रहा हमारा टी-रेक्स, हमारे पीछे आ रहा है। भगा लेते हैं अपनी गड्डी। लेट्स गो, इधर से निकलते हैं अब पेड़ों के बीच में से। मैं बहुत अच्छा ड्राइवर हूँ इस गेम में, मैं इस गेम को 4 साल से खेलता आ रहा हूँ। कोई ना, लेट्स गो। अरे पीछे छूट गया भाई, शाम तो चला। अरे गाड़ी, शिट, आगे वो आगे भाग, पीछे देखो, भाग। आ रहा है। थोड़ी स्पीड स्लो करते हैं, इतना भी नहीं है कुछ खास। टूट गई मेरी गाड़ी, वो आ गया। भागते हैं यहाँ से। और हमें ये करना होता है इसमें कि डायनासोर को पीछे पड़वा के इस जुरासिक पार्क से हमें करना होता है एस्केप। अरे बहुत पास आ गया, भाग आरुष, गड्डी भगा अपनी, लेट्स गो, जल्दी चल भाई, जल्दी 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 जल्दी। मैं बाहर निकलने वाला हूँ, मैं बाहर निकलने वाला हूँ। ये मैं निकल गया उल्टी साइड से, मेरी गाड़ी पलट गई, उड़ गई मेरी गाड़ी भाई साहब, शिट। हाँ सर, मैं सिटी की तरफ जाता हूँ। यही होता है हमारा मेन मिशन इस गेम में कि हमें जुरासिक पार्क में डायनासोर को पीछे पड़वा करके सही सलामत निकलना है जुरासिक पार्क से और पहुंचना है अपनी सिटी में। यस, अरे ऑडी से भी टक्कर होगी, मैं ज्यादा ही हैवी ड्राइवर हूँ। इधर से निकालता हूँ, अरे स्कॉर्पियो से टक्कर मत मारियो। ओके, बच गया बच गया। ओके, सीधा चलाते हैं अब। मैं आपका टाइम दोबारा से वेस्ट नहीं करना चाहता, तो जल्दी से उतरते हैं। ओ शिट, कोई ना, अब हम चलते हैं अपने नेक्स्ट मिशन की तरफ। हमारा नेक्स्ट मिशन है हॉरर मोड। ये रिसेंटली ऐड हुआ, मगर ज्यादातर लोग अब इसे छोड़ के सिटी वी1 में खेलना शुरू कर चुके हैं, बट कोई ना, हम इसे करते हैं शुरू। लेट्स गो। मैं ज्यादा लेट्स गो नहीं बोलूंगा वरना फिर दिमाग खराब होता है। ओके, मैं आ गया हूँ हॉरर मोड में, मगर मैं इसे ऐसे नहीं खेलना चाहता। मैं सबसे पहले प्ले में जाऊंगा। यस, मैं सबसे पहले जाऊंगा प्ले में। यहाँ पे मैं चीट कोड डायल करूंगा PM11। लेट्स गो। अब हम जाएंगे अपने हॉरर मोड में। लेट्स गो। अरे यार, मैं तुम्हारा लेट्स गो बोल रहा हूँ, मेरे को आदत पड़ गई है। अब लेट्स गो नहीं बोलना है, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए। ठीक है, यहाँ पे ग्रेवयार्ड बना हुआ है भाई साहब, बहुत ही हॉरर है यार। ये है हमारा हॉरर हाउस, नीचे हैं बहुत सारे भूत। ये रहा भूत, भूत 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 भूत, ये रहा हमारा भूत। कोई ना, ये भूत है हमारा प्याले शव, हमें नहीं पकड़ पाएगा, हम छुपल में नहीं क्योंकि। अरे एक और भूत भाई, अरे अटैक ना करे बस। ये कर रहा है अटैक, हल जा रही है नहीं, ऐसी बस लेट गया। चलो इसके अब अंदर के हाउस को एक्सप्लोर करते हैं कि इसमें कुछ इम्प्रूवमेंट हुआ है या वैसे ही है। यहाँ पे कारपेट डाल दिया है, ये पहले शायद नहीं था, अगर था तो आप मेरे को कमेंट्स में बताइएगा। यहाँ पे है यह है। तो गाइज, आपके लिए एक बात है मेरे पास। मैं आज पहली बार कोई लाइक एम सेट कर रहा हूँ अपनी वीडियो का। आज की वीडियो का लाइक एम है सिर्फ 50 लाइक्स, कोई के या 100 नहीं, सिर्फ 50 लाइक्स आप पूरे करवा दीजिए, मेरे को बहुत खुशी होगी। यहाँ इस घर में कुछ इम्प्रूवमेंट तो नहीं हुआ है वैसे। नीचे जा, ये ऊपर के फ्लोर में भी ज़्यादा इम्प्रूवमेंट हुआ नहीं है। ये क्या लगवाया था अभी, कुछ था यहाँ पे आई थिंक। चलो छोड़ो। और भूत नीचे ऊपर सारी जगह टपक रहे हैं। ये ला भूत, मरेगा ये भूत, मरेगा नहीं, लगता नहीं है। और हाँ, मेरे को एक चीज़ और चेक करनी है कि यहाँ पे हम हॉरर मोड ये सिटी में है कैसे है। चलो बाहर उड़ के देखते हैं। ये तो हमारा प्लेटफॉर्म है सीधा खाली सा, इसमें से ग्रेवयार्ड है, मतलब हॉरर मोड ही है, कुछ वैसे नहीं है यहाँ पे यार। चलो कोई ना, हम यहाँ पे डे कर सकते हैं। लेट मी चेक। और नहीं, अभी नहीं है, हम इसमें नहीं होने का। कोई ना, अब हम बढ़ते हैं अपने नेक्स्ट और लास्ट चैलेंज मोड पे। लेट्स गो, हम चलते हैं। ओके, हम आ गए हैं अपने नेक्स्ट चैलेंज मोड पे, सिटी वी1। हम इसे करने वाले पूरा एक्सप्लोर। लेट्स गो, चलते हैं। ये आ गए हैं हम। यहाँ पे पूरी अच्छी खासी सिटी ऐड कर दी गई है। आइसक्रीम का पार्लर है, मेट्रो ट्रेन है, और भी कई चीज़ें हैं यहाँ पे। यहाँ पे एक अच्छा सा स्टेडियम भी बनाया है भाई ने, मगर ये नहीं पता कि किस चीज़ का स्टेडियम है। छोड़ो, अरे फंस गया, भागो 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 भागो, हमें और भी चीज़ें एक्सप्लोर करनी है। यहाँ पे है हमारी बहुत सारी न्यू टाइप की बिल्डिंग्स। यस, और यहाँ पे है सिटी। ओके, तो चलते हैं हम और चीज़ें एक्सप्लोर करने। यहाँ पे ट्रैफिक भी ऐड हो गया। यहाँ पे स्कॉर्पियो इसे हम जला देते हैं जल्दी। सुपरमैन ताकतवर है बहुत। इस गाड़ी को भी जला देते हैं। यस, लेट्स गो। मैं बार बार लेट्स गो क्यों बोल रहा हूँ? और उस को थप्पड़ खाना है क्या? बार बार लेट्स गो मत बोल। इसे भी जलाते हैं। लेट्स गो। ओके, मैं दोबारा लेट्स गो बोल रहा हूँ। इसे भी जलाते हैं। मैं जलाने क्यों लगा हूँ? यहाँ पे हमारा काम था सिटी एक्सप्लोर करना। और यहाँ पे तो चलो हम जलाते हैं। बाहर जाओ। अरे जाओ। लेट्स गो। यहाँ पे अब हम स्कॉर्पियो भी जला देते हैं। ओके, चलो जला देते हैं। ओके, जली नहीं हमसे। अरे आपको बैकग्राउंड में आवाज आ रही होंगी, प्लीज उसे इग्नोर करिएगा। ओके, तो गाइज ये है हमारी पूरी अच्छी सी सिटी। यप, और मैं इसे आपको और एक्सप्लोर नहीं कराऊंगा। आप अपना मज़ा क्यों ख़राब करेंगे भला? तो गाइज आप इसे और एक्सप्लोर करिएगा। तो तब तक के लिए आप ख्याल रखिए अपना। लाइक करिए, शेयर करिए, सब्सक्राइब करिए और फॉलो कर दीजिए मेरे को। अभी मतलब फॉलो नहीं, सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिए यूट्यूब पे। तब तक